Sup, Crouchies? 251 post Midseason Madness. We are ready to look back, digest, break down, think about what on earth just happened in the past week. 6 days of tournaments. It was a long one. Yiska, your brain is fried because you don't go to bed until 5 a.m. now.
Yep.
The good news is you're only like half an hour away from enjoying McDonald's breakfast. So, you know, you're thinking like, damn, if I just stay up a little bit longer, I can get a muffin.
It was so bad. I had to slam so much caffeine that this was 1 week off. I went cold turkey and I slept for like between 13 and 15 hours. Had really bad, like I thought I had COVID. Like I was doing tests and whatnot. And then I realized I went from 8 liters of Coke to, no caffeine at all. And I had pounding headaches as well, which I basically never do. So yeah, Hawaii is a great time. Like it's just awesome watching that. Oof.
You're ridiculous. Just go to bed. There are VODs, bro. It's okay.
No,
we'll make do.
I genuinely think that most of the interesting experience is lost by the time you get to the VODs.
Oh, I totally agree, but for your own health and sanity and some enjoyment of the game, right? Like it's hard to pay attention to like the nuance of things when you have people screaming about how Hunter x Hunter is either good and or bad. So
I mean it's tough. I mean that infuriates me so much that it keeps me awake. So good enough.
Okay,
good enough.
You gotta tune into these live shows, guys. You really don't know what you're missing, or maybe you know exactly what you're missing, and you're just taking a precautionary step back. If that's you,
God, how would you know what you're missing? You would have to be there to know what it is. In which case, you wouldn't be missing it. It's just a weird conundrum.
Or you've just synthesized our personalities into the worst possible arguments and then like multiplied them like 10 times.
I don't know, but people think they understand my personality.
True.
And they don't know that 70% of it, I just made up a number, is a full-on act. But parasocial relationships and all that on the internet, am I right? How much of me is real? How much of me not? Maybe I'm just an AI. Maybe I'm actually no one's seeing me in real life. I exist in a fake place called Australia. That's not even a real country. Because if I was really in Australia, I would have already fallen off the planet. Because
exactly,
we do live on a flat Earth. So I mean, yeah, maybe I'm not even real. Maybe I'm just a hologram. I'm just an algorithm. So
AVRL is a conspiracy.
Imagine getting annoyed by an algorithm. I'm just Rehoboam from season 3 of Westworld. Imagine getting mad at an algorithm. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, this is we're going to cover some news today about some of the recent, a signing and a release, and then also we're going to talk about midseason. Obviously, it's a big topic, and some of our thoughts behind midseason, some of the other things that happened there. Don't forget, we also have another episode coming out tomorrow as well. And is it tomorrow? I don't know. It comes out after this episode.
It'll be soon after this.
I should know when the next episode comes out, but I don't. It'll be sometime. It'll be sometime between the next 2 episodes and the end of this one. So this is 251. 252 will come out before 253, but after 251 at some point. Whoever uploads between the 3 of us will knows the answer to that question. And that is going to be our mid-season Crouchies as well. If you forgot what the Crouchies is, it's kind of like our fun awards. They're not very serious awards. These are just kind of like fun stuff, like who was the best bench player, etc. All that kind of stuff. And also your votes, your fan votes on Juked for the Juked MVPs and all that kind of stuff. Joe, that's all. That's all
coming up. Yeah. We for this week we kind of put it out to the public. with our partnership with Juked for this month, we've tried to create like a special activation, and this week we put out a vote to you guys on Juked to see who was the who was the standout player that didn't have necessarily some big expectations in your mind, who really kind of had a pop off performance. So obviously people are going actively right now on Juked and they're voting, and they're explaining why. And yeah, it's been an interesting little experience. There's a couple of comments that I want to highlight here. People are talking about how maybe Proper isn't necessarily getting the credit that they deserve, and shout outs to AVRL a little bit there too, getting somebody's MVP vote. So that's always nice to see that somebody close to the show is also getting some credit. So yeah, if you're interested in supporting the show, but also supporting a great esports cause, head on over to Juke, place your votes. We'll tally them up in the following episode to this. And yeah, go support Juke. They're a social app made specifically for the needs of esports fans. They've got you covered on schedules, tier 2, Overwatch League. Oh, you like Dota? They got Dota. Oh, you like Apex? They got ALGS. They've got everything under the sun. It's actually kind of surprising how much stuff that they have on there. It's stuff that I've never even heard of. So if you're a multi esports fan, head on over there, check it out. Let them know we sent you. We have our Tactical Crouchers badge that you can get now. I think if you follow the account, Tactical Crouch, I believe is the official account. You should be getting that within the next week or so. And yeah, just want to shout out Juked, and thanks to them for supporting the show. And yeah, get out there, go vote in more ways than one. Up. And yeah, let's get it.
Who do you think are the best? I want to cover those, but I want to preview it because I get excited about the awards. Too early to preview Summer Showdown. We're going to get to that in a way later episode, I think. Well, not that way later, maybe just a couple from now. But another way to just kind of, celebrate the midseason for what it is to kind of celebrate the individual performers. But again, that's 252, something to look forward to. And join us on Juke to talk about it. But guys, we'll kick off this episode proper now because there is some stuff to go over. 251 is brought to you by Avril Vista Bebe, Battle Crab, Refine Being, Bronzebot, Boo, Halchare. Philadelphia is more of a stage 3 team anyway. Chris R34444, Cash 67, Lol, Shin, Porkchop, Sammy, Rick saying, Volamel, Smooth Nuts in Your Misery. With YouTube members Ice Ham, Jello, William, Jesse, Vishman, Fire Element 6, AK, and Chris R. Alrighty, so our tournament just finished. A couple things to consider there. Well, we want to just blow through the news really quickly because the entire Midseason Madness discussion is going to be a big one. Yeah. So let's just run through. There's maybe 2 to 3 things important to talk about in this last week. Mm-hmm. Number 1 on the list is going to be Kuki. He's gonzo. He's donezo. He's out of the New York Excelsior. I mean, part of me looks at this and it's like, damn. But also part of me is like, NYXL's been pretty underperforming so far. Mm-hmm. Definitely below expectations. Unless you're Yiska and you just knew they weren't going to be great. I had hope. But no, NYXL has been in a really weird place, and it seems like they are making moves. I don't know if this is going to be the only move they make. Obviously, they still have Ho1 joining. Mm-hmm. I don't know who their coach is now. Does it just go to one of the assistant coaches? Is Undyne the head coach now?
I would guess.
So is Gesture the head coach now? So it does leave an interesting position for New York. We have to assume there'll be more changes to the team, right? In some way, not just cuts, but maybe additions.
Yeah,
I would have to guess, right? Like, and that's what the rumor mill is spinning up, that maybe New York looks quite different by the start of the Summer Showdown? I can never get it right. Summer Showdown. So, like, yeah, it's another one of those like Washington arguments where it's just like you're underperforming to even like your handicapped roster. We've talked about it on the show about how they have talent. There's no question about how New York has some great talent. It's just they don't have specific pieces. They don't have much depth at all.
Say the line
that they're woeful.
The talent is finish the sentence. The talent is
There.
a 2-letter word. Sorry, it's a 5-letter word. I was thinking is. I was like, the talent is, but I said the 2-letter word. So it's actually no. You're right. The talent is there. Bart, say the line. You said the line. You said the line, guys. You said the line. The talent is there. Okay.
The talent is there, and it's sad because like you go back and you watch some of our preseason episodes and you listen to AVRL talk about and big up Kellen, and I don't think that's just like the skill vampires got him. Like once he crossed, the Korean border and came to Texas, wherever the hell New York are playing from, like he just got worse. It's like this team is underperforming. They're not playing well, and somebody's probably got to pay for it, and there has to be changes made. And unfortunately, Kuki's got to go.
This is what it is. It's like, when I hype up new rookie DPS players, they typically turn out to be absolute gods. But when I hype up like the top tank players, especially the main tank players out of Korea, I don't know what it is. 2 in a row now, Mag and Kellen just both flopping. You could argue it's both because of their teams as well. Maybe it's Shadow Water. Maybe
probably
they just can't
should.
play out of, It's either they can't play out of Korea, they just struggle on a Western team, or the team itself is a bit of an issue. Could be a bit of both. Who knows? But that's the we talk about skill vampire. In order for guys like Pelican and Proper to succeed. To be fair, I didn't like Omega hype up Pelican, but I real recognize real. I mean, the people that saw him promote who knew he was going to be fucking phenomenal. Yeah, it's just like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about tank players. I'm just not going to talk about next time. People are like, oh, who's the next best tank player coming out of Korea? I'm just like, nope, ain't gonna say it. I don't know. It's not going to be anybody because every time I do, they just flop unless they join a Korean team and they don't leave Korea. Apparently, I'm just going to say that's the issue. They keep leaving Korea and they keep flopping because of it. But DPS, they're immune. They're immune because Pelican absorbs Mag's powers, Proper's absorb Kellen's powers, and tank players come over to NA and they just like don't know what they're doing anymore. So you're good tank players in Korea. You stay damn well in Korea. That's what you got to do. Yeah. And then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a hard
Max,
one.
Jumbin, stay where you damn are right now. Don't leave.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting that both of the like much hyped former like contenders Korea tank talents never really hit their stride in the same way. I will also say like the trajectory on Kuki's career was interesting to me. Like I had a little bit of a different view, or like I guess more intimate view on the Mayhem situation, because like we did this learning to win again, and it was basically about like integrating like the Mayhem trying to find a way once again to be a good team, and then also OG trying to revive his career. And like when we talked about it, like he just said like I have a good feeling about OG, like that's a player that can work, blah blah blah. Of course, like he just came off making Fade a top tier talent again.
Sure.
So like you had to give him some credit. Unfortunately, like the season 4 Mayhem were a bit of a bust after stage 1, and then like coming into this season, there's definitely a discussion, because if you look at the way this roster was built, there's something weird. You can tell me what you want, but they start out. Who did they sign? They signed Yaki. They signed Kellen. They secured Flora. Like just Yaki and Kellen. If you were not going to invest, like either it's a complete budget allocation mishap, right? Or like something went wrong in this, where in my opinion, like if you had the same budget, you probably don't want to compete for the top tier rookies there. You probably want to divide the budget up more, get a second tank in, like have more of a breadth. It's also Yaki is a main tank killer, bro. Like you either work with him or you don't. Like if you're not on Yaki's time, you're sleeping in.
We figured it out.
You're having a nightmare, right? Like if what Yaki is doing didn't work so frequently, you would call him a feeder. You absolutely would call him an absolute feeding, like W pressing feeder.
I want to put a pin in that comment that Yaki is a tank killer because I think there's an interesting dichotomy, but I will get to that. I know Avra wanted to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
I just love that because when I think about him, it's just like the one tank that he has played with in the last few years that's not called OG or Kellen is actually Mag. And I think they did okay together. So maybe what needs to happen is you have to reunite Yaki and Mag together because that seemed to be the one tank that was fine with Yaki. The Yaki tank killer thing is also funny because when you think about like, oh man, you want to have Yaki in your team, it's just like he's such a good player. But then, you know, you talk about him as a tank killer, it's like, yeah, that's good, right? He's killing the other tank on the other team, right? No, he's killing the tank on your team.
Yeah.
Rip.
That's the thing. Like, in my mind, and I'll just say it out loud, and then the relevant people in charge of both of these organizations can do whatever they want to do with that. But I think a Mag for Kellen trade is actually a win-win for both parties.
Yeah.
Just in how those temperaments work out. Mag wants to play with aggressively, right? Like maybe he knows Yaki as well. Kellen like is a much different type. I could see like how someone of his caliber that he was, maybe not currently is, could be interesting and also filling in a gap there with Washington alongside Kalios. So maybe that would fix some things. I'm not sure about the contract volume that both of these guys are on. This is of course always like a limiting factor. Don't in my mind, these are pretty comparable players as they are right now. At the same time, like they might be wildly different in terms of their contract volume, or they might be very comparable. I honestly have no idea, but you know, I'll just put it out into the ether. Let's see where this goes. But like, yeah, like you gotta, unfortunately, this is every team is making moves. The reason why a lot of people were like mad about the Justice is because they stuck to their course and haven't made any recognizable or hard like changes to their trajectory. They haven't fired a coach. They haven't signed new players. They haven't kicked anyone. Whatever, right? But the other team that got away with murder was the New York Excelsior, right? Like they were just as underwhelming, unfortunately. They were just as stacked with talent, I would argue, and they did worse than the Washington Justice during this season, right? And I feel like this team, once again, it's a problem of resource allocation in my mind. And the asymmetry to their requirements, what they need. So, you know, dividing the likely budget up between several players. I think that's something we're seeing a lot in the league as of right now as well. Especially in the bottom teams where they realize like having that one big star player on a fat salary is probably not going to lift you out of mediocrity or the bottom level. And then, like, just have a well-rounded roster that you can at least luck out on a meta with, right? For Kuki, this is hard, man. Like, where's he going from here, right? Like, the last 2 seasons that he's had, or I mean,
I got it.
1.5 is hard, right?
Washington are doing a trade. Kuki for Supreme.
Oh, no. Coach trades.
Coach trade and tank trade. They're doing both.
Just a package deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not mad at the tank trade. I'll say that. I'm mad at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Eric brought up Toronto. Toronto's still looking for it. And KDG just goes straight to Toronto, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Sorry. Kuki goes to Toronto, then KDG goes to New York.
Suppose.
No, I don't know where Kuki goes from here because the problem is now he's associated with kind of two below average teams like Mayhem had a good first stage last year and then ended up being pretty woeful. And it's like Kuki gets another shot on a new team, brings over some familiar faces in Gangnam Jin and Yaki. And hard to say if it's his fault again, but it's like, or if hard to say if it was ever really his fault, but at some point it's just like either he's super unlucky or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
Because others are doing way more with less.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Especially when you look at where Mayhem are now compared to last year, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Dude,
I think there is a little bit of both for him, especially in this situation, because I can't, like, again, I'll still peddle this. There's no way that this was supposed to be like the end goal for the New York Excelsior for 2022, right? Like having half a team.
Yeah.
Just that something had to have gone wrong in the books in the front office, that like Kuki was never really in a position to succeed. Lock down some great, free agents, but he has a team to work with.
If Crim 6 was going to cost that much, they should make him also play on the Overwatch team as well, just to balance it out.
You might as well. He can't be that bad.
If we're paying you big bags, you should be forced to play on 2 different teams, on 2 different games. It's the only way to justify that cost.
Do you guys think, like, in my view, I think it's very fortunate for Christopher that we are not playing out of one facility, because you can tell half the league's coaches would just shove him into the water cooler for making them all look like idiots, while he's like on a bottom tier budget team, but like outperforming all of them, and now everyone's questioning like, oh my god, what is going on? And then,
well,
you
have 2 of those though.
Yeah,
you have 2 of those because Gumba's doing the same thing.
Gumba's doing something similar. Yeah,
you're both Christopher and Gumba overperforming based on budgets.
Yeah.
Now, so every higher budget team that's either getting similar results or worse results, like what the fuck are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now I will say one reason why this is maybe easier, and in London's case, that's not really true, because like the only way they really made use of their advantage of being an English-speaking roster is when they had to sign the flex support substitution.
True.
And that was made easier through having English-speaking players. But like, I think this is the first season where it is legitimately a disadvantage to be a North American team and not have a fully Korean roster, right? Like beforehand, it was like, like the optionality of everything. Like this is what we always preached about. Like the hybrid rosters now come through for real, because you can get the best players in the preseason, like a Proper, like a Finn, like a Kilo. But then you can also substitute. You can get the Kalush in. You can get the Mickeys in, right? And that's a big boon in that in situations that are unprecedented, right? If you have that optionality, that just helps you, right? And yeah, I mean, honestly, this is honestly maybe a direction that the Excelsior should be going into.
Get Vulcan back. That's what you're saying. I heard you correctly there. We're getting Vulcan
in a weird way.
Speaking of teams, I don't know if we're ready to move on here. Speaking of teams that have spent more and performed worse, Vancouver Titans have signed King. So we actually did see that we talked about the whole Shockwave news last episode.
Yeah.
One of our last episodes.
We also talked
but
about
now,
King. Last episode.
Did we talk about potential new pickups during that episode?
Yeah.
Did anybody bring up King?
Yeah.
Did anybody bring up? You did?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna bother verifying that because I'll just believe you. I'll believe you at face value.
Just watch that episode, guys. Like, you already know the plan. And I honestly didn't know. It was just so obvious.
Yeah, it's one of those like big name tier 2 NA contenders players that like is just the next in line to get called up, and lo and behold, homie gets called up. Like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is this an upgrade to Shockwave?
Because it does
for some reason.
That's where it depends. It depends on how you look at the departure of Shockwave, and like I think I know exactly where Yiska's headed, but I won't steal his.
I think I know where Yiska's headed as well, but it's just like
it depends. For me, it depends on how you view Shockwave. Like, I would also agree coming into the preseason that I would have assumed, based on his former performances going back to what I believe was 2020, that he was a lot more flexible than, I think people in tier 2 probably would let on, right? I don't know if that's the case, and I trust DePay enough to know whether or not that was the case, right? I'm guessing there was extensive trials run, and just wasn't comfortable enough on a wider, range of heroes to warrant, keeping them around. When you look at somebody like King, you have a resume that is specifically tailored around one of Titan's biggest weaknesses, which has been since the start of the season, flex DPS, right? We can speculate and wonder and assume whether or not Shockwave could have made do. But as it stands now, King's coming in, and I think this is a lot more tailored approach where it didn't seem that Shockwave necessarily either had the guidance or didn't have enough time spent in maybe mid-season to warrant a starting position at flex DPS. That would be my take.
Wait, what's he? I don't know. I'm crazy. I still think a Shockwave is hit scam, but in either case, I think we all agree that he did play a bit of both. I think we can all agree that Vancouver they did need a third player.
Yes.
I think we actually said last time that they needed a tank player more than anybody else.
Yes.
So because Mirror's definitely not going to be playing Doomfist in the next meta, that's for sure. Nope. So he's going to be a dedicated DPS player, and you probably want a third DPS player, which they have now. But
I will say, if Junker Queen actually ends up being meta, I think this is one of those metas where that kind of helps you if you don't have a solid.
So Mirror and Dante are never getting off tank. Then
it might, it could be in a weird world. I think it's going to depend on the player, but I could see a world where somebody like Dante, I hate to use him as a catch-all, but when you have a career like he has, you look at like Prophet, and it's just like, homie Zarya's kind of cracked. He's played a lot of these heroes. Like, do we just put him ahead? I don't know. Smurf's also been fantastic, so I also trust him with the world. So you don't think you need to move him,
I find that the new tanks that get released, and I kind of put Doom in that category as well, because he's been kind of a unique tank in the way that everyone's had to relearn him, and so multiple different players from different backgrounds are getting good at Doom. From DPSs to off tanks and main tanks, it's kind of like the catch-all tank that everyone is somehow kind of good at, because no one outside of like the actual DPS players have any major play time or experience advantage. But even if you do, because it's a new role, it's kind of different now. So my point is, Jungle Queen to me is probably going to be also in that category where it's like a fresh start. No one's had prior game time on this, so everyone playing Jungle Queen fresh is going to have the same amount of ability to make that their hero.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm a keep it 100 with you. Like, if you tell me that everyone, like, okay, let me phrase it the other way around. Teams like the Outlaws, arguably teams like Atlanta, now that they don't care about fielding Gator, are absolutely propped up by how this meta has developed over the season on tank. Like, the fact that you could play that much Doom while it wasn't the defining thing, but it was feasible. Okay. If you had to hard force Rhine, you're getting farmed by a lot of teams now, right? Like, if the Outlaws, like, you're not. What are you going to do if Rhine is hard meta, right? Or Ball is hard meta, or whatever, right? Like, there are more scenarios than not for your season to look way different if you're the Outlaws, or if you're the Reign. Even though I will say, for the Reign, they probably would have made a different decision with Gator as well.
Correct.
Because then Gator would have probably played more also if you had more Winston. But then I would argue, like, Gator would get farmed on Winston way more than Hawk is getting farmed at the moment when he gets to play his comfort picks, like Doom. So I feel like if we're talking about... Okay, someone told me a very cool framing of how Overwatch League teams work. I think AVRL will probably immediately realize where the framing comes from. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share it, but I'll just get everyone an idea.
It's my favorite preface.
So the idea is that teams have tickets. Okay? And every team plays the lottery every season, right? And each ticket is like a comp that they can pull off. They don't need too much practice in order to get into the shake of things. Sometimes just between maps, they will decide to cash in their ticket, and it's a lottery on which lottery ticket gets chosen by the meta situation. So a team like Gladiators has more tickets than other teams. They just have more tickets in the lottery. They can play the Rhine comps, they can play the group comps, they can play the Sigma comps. You know, like, all of those, and most of the time, if we're being honest, tickets are determined by tanks very often, even though in specific meta situations, they can also be determined by the backline if you don't have a double flex support and that's forced. Or also by, like, not having a hitscan player or something if you don't have a tracer ace and you're... Maybe it's a bit reductive, but you get the idea of tickets, right? And every time, every stage, so to speak, or every balance patch, this ticket gets drawn. And if you don't have a ticket to show up, you're now much less likely to not just perform, but you're performing probably in the bottom percentile of what your team is capable of, right? So, and this is like, good teams think about it this way, right? Like, they can, at a moment's notice, a top team can absolutely, if they haven't for weeks scrimmed a specific comps that they have bought a ticket for in the preseason, let's say, in practice, or by the makeup of their team, they can just bring that. So, for instance, let's say London, right? If London didn't play Reinhardt for 6 weeks, and then in the playoffs, suddenly it makes sense for them to bring out Reinhardt on map 3 in the lower bracket finals or something, then they can absolutely do that, and do that at very high proficiencies. Okay?
Sure.
This is how tickets work. Better teams have more tickets. Bro, I'm sitting here and I'm just looking at all the bingo cards of these teams, and Outlaws is just like going bingo, 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 bingo. Bro, how are they hitting every single meta situation where they are not getting their pants pulled for having only an off-tank player?
Because they're shoving that Dante square peg into every round hole they can find.
Yeah, and like teams like the Titans didn't find the solution of only having a...
Right.
They didn't have the guy that could pull off the Doomfist, or didn't have the foresight to have someone from the DPS commit to Doomfist. That's also like probably a coaching thing where the Outlaws just like that. That's where you have to give them credit, saying like, we need more tickets. One ticket is like, if Sigma is a ticket, oh, we're golden, bro. We got that piggy, right? We got the we need another ticket. We give Dante the Doomfist, okay? That's at least 2 tickets they have.
Sure.
How many tickets did Titans have, bro? Like, one moldy one, at best. Right?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but they're not all equal. They're not all equal.
Yeah.
You know? Because I want to make something clear as well. When I talk about Dante in this context, it's actually a compliment in that Houston are able to do what they do.
Yes.
Because this guy is like really good at one hero in this particular meta that has been pretty relevant in the meta as well. And it's a hero that, like, I guess if you're good enough, your team plays around it well enough that you can just kind of like make it work. So there's that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But okay, and here in this case, Vancouver needs one, bro. They need one. And
they do.
If you only can sign one additional player and Shockwave, I think you can create yourself a ticket if you get lucky, especially with Junker Queen becoming meta. Maybe that's a foresight thing that maybe that shapes the opinion. But
this entire discussion is like, Eric, make a new timestamp for Yiska's ticket speech.
Right.
We have Kuki, King, Yiska ticket speech. Now we round out from. Are we still talking about King, or I think we are?
Roughly,
The point is here, you take the your allowance money that you have, you go like, Shockwave is pretty expensive. Let's cut the Shockwave in half, get that, and then we can maybe buy one ticket. That's basically the situation as I see it, with once again having talked to 0 people.
It makes sense. I think they're in a position, playing within your paradigm. I think they could afford a couple people, and maybe that's maybe they get the Junker Queen ticket early.
I think if all that changed was they had both Mirror and DP at the start of the season would already be different.
Oh, totally.
That's legitimately what I think
100%.
would have happened already.
They get the Doom,
So they shouldn't have been that far off from being able to achieve, I'm not saying the exact same results as Houston, but at least on that same pathway.
Similar.
Had they had Mirror and DP right from the get-go. So I don't think this whole situation now is really interesting. I don't know King that well as a player. But I have no idea if he's actually what they need. I think we all agree that they probably need someone to be more covering the Ryan Winston side of the hero pool.
Yeah,
unless Foles can somehow get that done by himself.
Nah.
But it seems like it's easier said than done, because if it was that easy, every team would just commit to one tank right now.
Yeah.
But it ain't that easy. Okay. Well, a bit of King discussion. And a whole damn ass German speech later, we arrive at the end of, I think that's all news. Or did we also want to touch up on, this is Midseason Madness related. And actually we could probably talk about it after the Midseason Madness stuff, because it's all related. We're going to talk about there was a whole conversation around the viewership as well. But I think for now, let's get into Midseason Madness proper. And what was our last episode? Where did we get up to in the games? It was day 5, so it was before day 5, correct?
Yeah,
believe so. Yes.
We didn't. It was a preview into day 5. So we had just finished talking about 23. I'm just looking at all the dates currently. So we did not get Shanghai, Atlanta. We did not get Hangzhou Fusion or anything beyond that, correct?
Yeah, pretty much just draw a line before the upper bracket semis, I believe, and then the rest of it.
Should we just start from there? Should we just start from Shanghai, Atlanta, Hangzhou, Philly, the first Shot Glads game, and just kind of move forward throughout the bracket? So at this point, I remember saying as well in the last episode, this was the last time I was going to give any rope to Shanghai and be like, okay, this is your shot now. Don't disappoint in the next game. And they didn't win. They did not win. They won one map.
Yeah.
To be fair, Coliseum was at least close, but no, this was not it. This was this is the end of Shanghai's run. Atlanta get their revenge, and really, part of me knew Atlanta was probably going to win this matchup because they'd already been on a roll through the lower bracket. I'm like, dude, this is. Surely they don't stop. Surely this doesn't end unless maybe Spark put an end to their run. But then Spark didn't beat their game either. So there's that. Let's focus on Shanghai, Atlanta first. Where do you guys stand there?
I feel like this. I think a lot of people want this to be like a washed fucking L+ ratio, get new players type of problem for Shanghai. And I really think it's a lot more insidious. Not in like some sort of like, there's drama within the team. No. I do want to like reflect back on what Moon had said at the start of the Midseason Madness about how like they don't feel necessarily super comfortable And it seemed like they had like a better read on things coming into like week 3, week 4 when they put Fade in. They got rid of Bebe, like Lee Jae Gon's back in the fold, and they're back on track. I don't know if it was just a lack of like prep with that specific lineup, but I feel really confident in looking specifically at players like Fleta when you compare them to somebody like Venom. So again, somebody who is a tracer, kind of like one trick specialist, but in that same way, not somebody who's an MVP count, style of talent. They're not anywhere near kind of award winning. And it was night and day in terms of like how they were able to perform. I really don't think Shanghai had like a strong grasp on the execution of the meta. I think they could identify it, but like they looked kind of lost, and I think that affected them like in an individual way. So I don't think that this is just like, oh, we need Fleta's got to go, or oh, we need Void to play. No. Like this is like something a little bit harder to fix, and that's where it's like, yeah.
This to me is not a roster change issue. I don't think we look at this team and be like, man, their players are so bad. That would be extremely revisionist, considering this is the same team that won the championship last year. Now, we could say that maybe the players are not as good as last year. We could say that maybe Overwatch 2 is just too different for them, even though I think that's a cop-out. I don't think that's right either.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a player issue, because we've all seen everybody in this team play to exceptionally high level. I'm not talking about the new guys. I also don't consider like Bebe to be one of the core members in terms of the starting lineup. So it's like it's hard to just like you'd be mad scapegoat and be like, oh, it's definitely Bebe's fault. It's like, but that wouldn't be right either, because he only came in for specific maps, and it's not like Shanghai were winning up until those maps, right? Let's go over what Moon said. This is through Google Translate, so who the hell knows how accurate it is, but we'll just go with it. All the tournament teams worked hard. Shanghai Dragons, I want to say thank you and apologize to the fans who have been supporting us since the morning. I'd like to tell you, it's hard to tell you the exact internal situation, but I don't think we're a strong team anymore. Not doing the basics and playing drunk last year. I don't know what that last part means. That's maybe a Koreanism. Follow-up reply tweet to that, or just part 2. We will reflect deeply on judging various difficult situations as self-justification, humbly accept our team's current situation, and build up again to show the side of a strong team in the playoffs. Once again, you've been cheering for us since the morning. I'm sorry to show you this result. We'll prepare well. This was following the loss to Atlanta.
Yeah,
so,
I think the one Koreanism is belief. I saw some translation as was something like drunk on our last year's success. So like basically saying like they seem sated and not hungry anymore.
Right, they didn't have the same
drive,
hunger to sort of I see what you mean. It's kind of like the curse of being the champions in some cases, where like you're taking the win for granted slightly. So I kind of feel like Kickoff Clash should have been the wake up call.
Yeah.
But then again, you could, if you wanted to be really cope about it, if you're Shanghai, you'd be like, yeah, but we did lose to the champions. We lost to Seoul, and Seoul are pretty good right now. And it was a close loss. We could have probably beaten Seoul. We're not doing that badly, right? So that would have been the cope response. But now it's like, okay, well, shit, there really isn't much to say anymore. You double Elam tournament where and to be fair, they also did lose to Philly last time. But now it's like, you got knocked out by Atlanta, a team that you dominated last year. You got frankly embarrassed by the Shock, straight up. Like, even if you were going to lose to the Shock, let's even just say, yep, Shock are the better team. Even that being the case, Shanghai should have been more competitive. Even if you lose 0-3, you should have been more competitive.
Yep.
I don't know. It's like, it's crazy that we look at the Glad Spark game and we're like, man, one of the best games ever. Like, what an insane series in this upper bracket semifinals. And then the game that you thought was actually going to be good, Shock Dragons, ended up being a complete flop. It's like, what? And it was a complete flop because Dragons just weren't there.
Yeah, they just weren't there. They literally were not there.
And I don't think the Dragons that were there in the rain game were that much better than the Dragons the Shock game. If anything, that just shows how much better Shock are than Atlanta in some cases, if you want to do the transitive property there.
Sure.
But to me, Shanghai weren't really much of a better team in the rain game, the Shock game. They're just, Rain's probably just a slightly easier opponent in the way that allows Dragons to take a map. This conversation maybe feels a little bit unfair to the Rain, but from my perspective on the eye test, I feel like Dragons were it was the same Dragons for what I could tell. So, yeah, I mean, credit to Atlanta Reign, but at that point, I think there's a little bit of hope for Dragons, but you also knew that was like, after losing the shock and the way they did, it's like, okay, this is not their tournament anymore. They're done.
Yeah. Not looking good. And again, like, I know you talked about like credit to the Reign, but it's just like at some point we're gonna have to like really sit down, have like a good hard look at where we think Atlanta Reign sits in like the power rankings discussion about who we think this team is. But because when you look at Kai, you look at Venom, who is again consistently being a extremely big factor in a lot of these games. Tracer's not going anywhere. She's just not. I don't know how long this game's been out, and Tracer's just constantly found a way to be.
You say that because in the current contenders meta, Tracer's not there.
Tracer isn't there.
Aside from that, you're right.
But like, yes, there are pockets of the time of like competitive Overwatch where like Tracer isn't there, but more often than not, she is. So like, somebody like a Venom is still going to matter throughout this season, right? And he has this season. You look at somebody like Kai, look at Nero, you look at Hawk kind of being able to come into his own, playing all these different kinds of heroes. I don't think we need to really talk about that backline, but this is a team who is constantly kind of just slept on. And it's very clear as we kind of cross the halfway point that some of the better teams in the world that we looked at last year just aren't up to stuff anymore. So it's like, is it crazy that we had Atlanta as high as we did coming into the preseason? I don't think so. Not anymore.
How about?
I think they have some like odd matches here and there, but you look at these playoff runs.
Where do we have them in the preseason? I feel like I had them in my top 5.
I think you had them in the top 5, and I feel like Yiska and I had them in our top 4 or 3. Because I think you had Houston above them for like a hot second.
Did I? I legitimately can't remember.
I think there was like one
for me.
Yes, I know Atlanta was like very high for all of us.
I don't know, man. Like I think Atlanta is still the most community underrated team.
Yes.
They will even after this, by the way, even after a top 4 finish here. So top 4, top 3, top 3 finish here.
Top 3.
They will still go into the next tournament, and people will count them out.
Oh yeah,
and people will never learn. Atlanta Reign will just keep on beating teams that people don't think they should be able to beat. And again, I'm not trying to be revisionist about this either, even though I did think that like maybe Shanghai could have probably still won that game from a cope perspective of like, oh, they just got to go back to old Shanghai. I think I knew after you see the shock game, you got to know that Shanghai they're not at this tournament.
That's a throttling.
Maybe even not at this year. We'll find. There's still half the season left, so don't want to be too doomer about it. But Atlanta were on a roll.
Yes.
How about this take though? I wanted to discover this since we're on the Atlanta topic. We'll move on from Atlanta after this.
Sure.
Brad had a tweet very recently. Says Hawk still getting slept on pretty hard. Possibly the best tank in the world right now. Thoughts?
Nah.
No.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Is Brad capping or?
I'm happy to like say he's underrated.
Yes. Would agree there.
I think it's probably 4th in my book. 4th, 5th.
5th even. There's 4 tanks better than him.
So it's Reiner, Smurf, someone.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, that one you're gonna get in trouble for.
I know, but I don't care.
I'll let you have it. But that's the one that people come after you for anyway.
Yeah.
Continue.
Who else?
Well, who else? You got Hardy. Muse,
no. I want to say it.
Yeah, Berna, Gushui, Dante, Piggy.
No.
Maybe it's 4.
You have Don,
maybe it's 4.
Khan,
and I would even say
Molfig. Even I put Molfig above him. How about OG and Fraggy and
I'm putting Ryu Jae Hong on Winston above Hawk.
And Taimu on Hog above him as well.
Yes,
all those guys above him.
Yep.
Has Hardy had worse performances than Hawk?
Has he had worse performances?
Is Hardy worse than Hawk?
That's hard to say.
It's so hard to judge these individual performances because when you play Ryan is such a team-focused character that if you don't have Admiral up your asshole just healing the fuck out of you, like you'd look like you feed.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like Ryan is such a hard hero to be like,
Yeah.
You know, is this guy carrying on Ryan? It's just like, you know, if Hardy does what he does and the whole team isn't backing him,
Yeah.
then he turns into the version of Bumper that looks like a hard feeder, like
Yeah.
a turbo inter. The line between Bumper can't stop getting away with it, and oh my god, report this guy for inting my game is a very fucking slim margin.
I think that would be true if I believe that Admiral is anywhere near close to the backline of the backline of the Rain.
Sure.
Like Hawk is playing with better backup. No,
agreed.
But he's not a Ryan player, so it depends. So then we have to talk about the other heroes. But then, like, we can't really compare Winston's because Hawk is also not a Winston player. These are two heroes that he's still learning.
Yeah,
you can't compare Doom because I don't think we've seen Hardy Doom.
I mean, the thing is,
we haven't seen Hardy on the off tanks either because Poker comes in to play those.
Here's what's true. Hardy's tickets have been drawn more often this season than Hawk's tickets.
Okay, I feel like that's a take. I feel like London are jamming their ticket into the ticket box, and Atlanta, I think, misplayed their tickets.
Farming Atlanta.
Analogies going.
I think
Let's stop speaking in analogies and just say what we actually mean. I think what you actually trying to say.
I think London are juicing the hell out of this rush comp to like astronomical degrees. I think it's like usable, but I don't think that just like everybody can just, you know, I think they're just jamming it in. You know what I mean?
I got what you mean.
No,
so what London are doing is Christopher.
It's also about Winston.
Christopher is showing up at the train station, and he goes up to the guy taking the ticket, and he's like, "All right, I'm coming on." The guy's like, "I'm sorry, you have the wrong ticket, sir. This is going the other way." He's like, "No, you're going where I want you to go." And then he punches the ticket guy in the face and just walks on the train. That's Christopher with his Reinhardt.
Pretty much, like
he's just forcing them to take their ticket.
Slowly, the guy's like, "No, I'm sorry, you can't get on the train." And there's Christopher just like putting a ticket in this guy's mouth and just like pushing it farther in, and then just walking on the
swallow that shit.
Yeah, very much like a sleep now dream. You know, whatever the hell that monkey meme was from like 2008. Anywho, it's tough to compare, but I do think that like the flexibility aspect is probably going to pay off dividends across the season as a whole, because I don't know that London are going to continue to be able to find the success that they did this stage by just jamming their style in every single scenario. I think it's going to be successful. I just don't think it's going to be as high as it was today.
Let's move this back to the Rain now, because London are out of the tournament.
At this point, yeah.
So are Rain, but just much further in the bracket. I see what Brad's getting at, and I like Yiska. I agree that he is heavily underrated, heavily slept on.
Agreed.
If they are able to, I guess, get to the end of, I want to use the word experiment, but I feel like that's got a negative connotation now, like it's not a good thing. But we want to get to the end of the Hawk only tank experiment and see if the Ryan and the Winston, the rest of the main tanks, can come up to scratch, and then Hawk will be really good, because that's probably the one part missing from his tool belt.
Can I just insert a dagger into both of your chest cavities with just one observation?
Go for it, Chief.
In our list of the best main tanks, none of us even thought a second about Hanbin or Fearless.
Well, yeah, they've been pretty underperforming.
Oh, look, if it's a Zarya meta,
yeah,
sure.
But that's the issue, right? Like they're not performing particularly well. So like you can't put them up there.
Fearless is fine. I think Fearless is okay. I don't know. I think the team makes. I'm blaming Rush on this one. This is not meant to be a Dallas Field discussion, but I look at Rush in terms of how he's identifying and trying to solve the meta. And ham-fisting in Lucio Morem and just being like, Fearless, dive in and do everything. It just doesn't work in 2022. I don't know. So, don't know what's going to go on there.
I think for Atlanta's sake, I really would have. I'd love to rewind the season and see Hawk in the position that he is now, where there's more flexibility and not just, oh, cool, Doomfist works. We'll just play Doomfist and we won't worry about like the future. I would have much rather see them try to play the field.
All the Doomfist teams are in big trouble now.
I don't think Atlanta's super
nerfed.
in trouble, but I think Atlanta's like got
Well,
far enough ahead of it.
Are they like depending on what everyone's going to play? If it's going to be continue to be Jungle Queen, which is what the trajectory looks like, then Hawk's Jungle Queen needs to be really
I trust
insane.
that it can be.
I trust it. Yeah.
Look,
I trust that.
This is why it feels terrible to speak against Brad here, because I just know and feel viscerally that this kid has been underrated for like damn near 2 years now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's just like
The whole team. It's not just him. It's the whole Atlanta Reign.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Even with Pelican and Eris and Masa and how good they were at the Brawl, people still mega underrated this team. It doesn't, even though they went to 3 Hawaiis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nope. It's the NFT crypto team, and they cry about things, and they keep complaining.
They complain about things everyone complains about, and like
they complain about the things that other people then complain about, but then don't get the same amount of shit for. And they also complain about things that are pretty justified that then kind of get fixed, like what we got this year in terms of some of the format changes.
Yeah.
So they're both justified. And also, other people will also complain about them, but no one will. Everyone will just dogpile the Reign for doing it instead. In any case, yeah.
Let me try to level with Brad here. I don't know that I don't think we can consider him the best tank in the world, but I think, and this is the question to you guys, is he a lock for Roll Star at this point?
See, that's a problem, because how many
Roll Stars do you have?
Let's pretend there's 4. And Yiska's saying Hawk is only number 5. That means he's out of Roll Star. Because the other 4 tanks are going to get it, right?
That's where I would disagree. I think he's a lock for Roll Star at this point. I don't
think
so who isn't of the?
I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Then you gotta exclude one.
I don't have to exclude anybody. I think the top 4 is pretty clearly Reiner, Smurf, Hawk, and then it's
Dante.
No, not Dante. Maybe this one's tough.
Someone or Hardy is your choice, right?
Sure, I'll take someone. I'm okay with someone. I think,
I'm
like,
not
again,
take someone anymore.
That's fair. Like, you can cast your votes, but that would be my top 4 right now.
It's not meant to be a mayhem conversation, but you know what? He's got another half season to figure it out. I don't know. I feel like is it my expectation that's out of whack? No, I don't think I expected an insane performance out of someone. I just feel like Mayhem as a whole, like, someone's flexible. He plays all the tanks, but there was nothing that I saw that was mind blowing. They're like, oh man, he's just so much better than X or Y or Z other top 4 tank player. So yeah, it's not meant to be Mayhem discussion though. Okay, so let's go on to the next game, which is a little bit of APAC friendly fire happening here with Hangzhou Spark and Fusion. Now, Fusion made themselves a pretty miraculous run. I would say that both Fusion and Reign made very similar runs. The only difference is obviously Reign then beat the Fusion, but then lost the Gladiators, so Reign made it one step further. But I would say that the Philly Fusion actually made a pretty damn good run themselves in the lower bracket, even though no one will admit it. No one will admit it because, like, it already doesn't sound right. Like, if you say, oh man, both Reign and Philly had the insane runs, you're like, no, just Atlanta. What do you mean Philly? And you have to like re-look at the bracket and be like, oh wait, no, Philly did make a pretty good run, because they also did beat most of the teams in the lower bracket except for the Reign. Yeah, I think Philly will obviously super overlook this tournament, and probably for correct reasons, because of all their COVID-related issues, because they'd been a pretty up and down team. I think we were all very aware of their strengths in terms of where their peaks were, but they were not a very consistent team at hitting those peaks, and especially in big tournament situations like Kickoff Clash as well. That 0-4 finish in the finals put a bit of a sour taste in the mouth of most fans, even though they did beat Shanghai. And yeah, I mean, they dropped down to Spark very early on, who we discovered was actually probably the best APAC team. But then they ended up beating Spark. So in the rematch, they beat the Spark. Now, on the context of APAC only games, having seen Spark and Fusion battle it out over the course of the season, this is like very similar to the kickoff clash situation again, where I don't know if you remember this, but in the qualify into the kickoff clash, Spark beat Fusion. I can't remember if it was super convincing or not, but convincing enough that Spark then chose Fusion as their first round opponents, forcing the Seoul Shanghai matchup. And Spark wanted the rematch, the run back to just beat Fusion again. And then they lost the Fusion, then Spark lost the Seoul, and they just got kicked out of kickoff clash. So in a way, it's very reminiscent of that time period of Overwatch League this season where Spark beat Fusion and then lose to them afterwards in the rematch.
Yeah, it's. I think what we have to kind of learn to love about APAC is that there is just a ton of parity, where it really comes down to form. There is not like a clear hierarchy, and I still think that's probably the case even now, right? Like we look at Seoul coming into this, and again, this isn't meant to be a Seoul discussion,
especially now because Seoul ended up dropping big. So now we literally don't know anymore.
Seoul's out, Shanghai's out. Spark look great as candidates. Philly look phenomenal, but they're Philly. We don't know what they'll look like in the next hour or two. Like we talk about tickets, like
literally in the next hour or two.
And that's where it's like, yes, we can in one hand say that Philly is incredibly inconsistent and are the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the season. Like they are the Philly award winners of the 2022 season. Like the Philadelphia Fusion have won the Philly award. But you can also celebrate how successful they were and how cracked MN3 and Zest looked and how great Bellisria looked and how phenomenal that they played, all while being sick. Like both things can be true at the same time. Like this is just them hitting their tickets, and you have to give them credit here. This was a great performance from them, and I think that Spark Philly set in the lower bracket finals was a fantastic match. That was one of the best matches, maybe not ahead of Glads and maybe not ahead of the finals, but it was great. It was fantastic.
I felt like the new Queenstra was a bit of a joke because we had a literal game-changing bug, and people people say like, "Oh, the grab wouldn't have made a difference." I'm like, yeah, that's kind of besides the point. It's like it is, and it isn't beside the point. We have to go back to the game and see if it would have made a difference, because he probably would have caught somebody. Bernard's not yeeting a grab into the void for no reason. He's not just trying to delete his ultimate for no reason, guys. Come on, it's not be too revisionist about it. Then there was that rando sleep dart from Fixer onto Shy that changed everything. I'm like, oh my god, wasn't even going for Shy. It's just like he was trying to sleep Bernard, and Shy just happened to appear in front of him, and Mr. President the sleep dart, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. That is legitimately one of the wildest things I've ever seen played in a high stakes game. Part of me, this is really unfair to Fusion, but part of me doesn't think Fusion should have won that game, because Spark, in my opinion, were the better team this tournament. Sure. Yeah, they were the better team coming into the match. They got super unlucky in one of the maps, to which people say, well, they should have just won one of the other maps. Fair enough, can't argue against that. But then the other part is when I look at the Atlanta Fusion game, which we'll also talk about, where Fusion, the Fusion that played Spark and the Fusion that played Rain is like two completely different teams.
Yeah.
That's the part that pisses me off. It's like, if you're gonna beat the Spark, you better go all the fucking way. Like you better be an insane team, because you just knocked out at that point not the literal number one seed in APAC, but like now the spiritual number one seed in APAC, being the on paper strongest team, nearly beat the Gladiators, right? So there is a multiverse where the Gladiators actually drop down, Spark go to the upper bracket final, and then get top three. There's a real multiverse in that, because the Spark Gladiators game was literally close enough for that to happen. It was an incredibly tight game. So if you're going to beat the Spark, then you better continue to be good. I don't hate that Fusion lose to Rain, but if you're going to lose to the Rain, you better lose looking damn good. You got to be like phenomenal. Because the problem now is all the extremely uneducated people will look at that game and just be like, oh yeah, must be APAC being extremely shit because Fusion just lost 1-3 to Rain. Well, you need to rewatch every other Fusion game, the Fusion versus Spark game, and the Fusion Rain game. And here's a piece of empirical evidence that you can't even argue against: is the complete mishandling of the substitutions that ended up in this game. Like, you didn't even get Fury playing on his map. Now, there was a rumor about the coaching staff, about Jin. They actually straight up fumbled the substitutions and like input the wrong players or whatever. There's a rumor. I don't have any. There's no proof behind that.
Sure.
So there's like, I guess you can't like, I don't know. You can't specifically. You can't specifically like, you know, I don't know. There's not going to be like there's not going to be like some judicial, you know, ruling with the gavel slamming down on that one. But it's like, so there's two outcomes. It's either one, Jin and the Fusion coaching staff fumble their substitutions, or B, they fucking did it on purpose. And I don't know which one's better. I think they're both fucking awful. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've either fumbled the substitutions or you fucked it on purpose, and they are both equally awful. They are both equally fucking stupid, right?
Sure.
Because you can't tell me. And there's the people that are like, oh, you know, like, maybe Fury just didn't feel good, or maybe Fury got COVID in 2 hours. No, I don't buy that.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't know that if we don't know which players had COVID, and to be fair, it's none of the public's business, but yeah, if that's the case and they just like mid-match decided that this was the right course of action, then yeah, that seems a little cooked, but it's also Philly. I half wonder if Spark advances, if they don't take Atlanta a little bit closer, just because they're not Philly. Like, God bless them. And again, I think so too.
It's not even just because they're not Philly. It's because Philly played so much worse in the Rain game than the Spark game.
Yeah.
They just bowed out. Like, they just checked the fuck out of that game. They walked in and just checked out. I don't know what it was, man. Like, that was an embarrassing series from Fusion.
A little bit.
And it's like, I don't know. It's like when the team that, it's almost like the situation where, you know, maybe, here we go. Here's another very unfair comparison. I'm all about these unfair comparisons today. It's probably how the London fans feel in a way, where I'm not saying I'm a particular fan of any team, because I'm not. I really don't give a fuck.
Unless they have Australians.
Unless they send me merch or any other free things, then I do care.
We are easily bought, yeah.
Again, I'm very easily bought. So,
or they're from Epic.
The Gladiators gear is on the way, just by the way. It's how the London fans feel, where like they probably feel like they should have beaten Mayhem, and if they did, they would have had a better chance versus Fusion, right? And I think it's like that sort of some arguments. Yeah. It's like, man, like, it's really unlucky or like weird or like just unfortunate that, you know, Mayhem would beat the Spitfire, but then only to lose to Fusion, kind of deal. That repeated in the whole Fusion versus Atlanta kind of thing. Because you probably did feel like London with a better team compared to Mayhem. Probably did feel like Spark with a better team compared to Fusion. The opposite team won, only to then just get cooked by the opposition. To be fair to Florida, at least in their Fusion game, it was a really tight series that actually ended in the final. That actually ended with one of the biggest pop-offs that we've seen, again, from M3. So maybe Florida actually could have won that. Whereas that's why I don't blame Mayhem as much, because I look at that game like, man, Mayhem played out of their minds. They really did all they could, right? Whereas I look at the Fusion Atlanta Rain game, I'm like, so you're going to beat Spark, and this is the performance you're going to put up against the Rain. Okay,
yeah, we know you can play better.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hate to use the momentum or fatigue argument, but it really looked like they were gassed after that Spark game. Like you said, they did not show up. MN3 wasn't there. Zest really wasn't there. It was kind of all over the place.
It's like they thought it was a seeding game. It's like one of those situations where you've qualified and you're like, the next, it's just a seeding game. Don't care. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's where, again, it's just like, we can credit Philly and be like, dang, like, you probably shouldn't have gone this far, and like, props to you. And we're going to have to like really revisit APAC in terms of like a round table, who goes where type of power ranking. But at some point, like, you're going to need some consistency. And like, I have to wonder if Spark is that consistent threat, but just weren't there on the day. You know, what's there really to say?
I don't know. Fusion have a really interesting situation where, like, they will. Fusion are like the Charizard of the Overwatch League. When they're good and they listen to you, they fucking pound.
Sure.
But then they just like fall asleep and just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about this tournament. I understand that this tournament had other issues with like COVID and stuff.
Of course.
I'm
Yeah.
just talking about the entirety of the Philly Fusion this entire year.
Yes.
And maybe you could even extend that comparison to the entire franchise history over 5 years. But more, I'm just going to stick to this year for now. Where
Mad at it. Yeah.
at their very best, they, even going back to kickoff flash, they beat Shanghai 3-0. They repeatedly
Sure.
beat Shanghai 3-0, who take in super close games to Seoul. And Seoul barely makes it past Shanghai, like fucking limping. And then you
Mhm.
get to the finals, and Fusion are just asleep.
Yep.
And it's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
So I feel it's like you got denied of a good grand finals. Do you know what I mean? It's like how everyone says Shanghai Seoul should have been the grand finals. It's like, yeah, because no one knows what the hell happened to Fusion.
Yep.
It's like, you know, they listen to Ash for one Pokemon fight, and then you get to the one that matters, and the Charizard's just fucking sleeping.
Mhm.
Hello?
Yeah.
Not enough
This
badges.
has been Fusion the whole fucking year.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to package it because they are just so frustrating because you know that they can do so much, especially from this tournament and like the match versus Seoul, like you mentioned. Like this is a team with incredible potential, and one if they fix whatever issue is ailing them, whether it's not enough badges or literally just COVID, maybe this time around, it probably could be in discussion
And
for
for-
like a grand final appearance again.
And again, for the fans that are hard of hearing, that don't understand what I'm trying to say, I'm not saying Fusion should have beaten the Rain.
No.
I'm saying they played significantly worse versus the Rain than they did the Spark. And
Correct.
you can literally go back in those games and check. You
Yeah.
can literally and
Yeah.
the entirely the undeniable fact of the matter is, even if you fail to understand how Overwatch works, and you don't know what it is to like dissect the game. Here's the one irrefutable thing that did happen: is Fusion fucked up their substitutions versus the Rain. That's irrefutable. So even if you fail to understand Overwatch, that you can't argue against. You cannot.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's just like, I don't know. That's the disappointing thing. If Fusion were going to go out to Rain, I wished it was like more of a Florida Fusion kind of matchup where Mayhem beat the Spitfire, but then you know they gave it their all, and it was a close game, and maybe Mayhem could have won, but Fusion were just better on the day. Here it was literally the same day. Fusion were both in equal parts better on the day, and then somehow fucking worse in the same day, the exact same day, hours apart.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I
They're
don't
a
understand
magical
this team.
Yeah.
This team's a unicorn. I swear to God.
And it's a weird one because, like, when I talk to MN3, I think that, like, they seem to have located the issue as in, like, their backline survivability, which is, of course, not just down to the backline. It could also be down to, like, you know, maybe you need to route your DPS different ways, or your engagements are too slow, or whatever it might be, right? But it's like, to a degree, and of course, like, nobody ever would have this point seriously, but it is a little bit frustrating to follow this team because they feel like entertainment thieves in some of those situations, right? Because it's like they can clap your tournament favorite, and then in the next game, which should be just like by the level you've shown before, should just be easy going. Now you're suddenly in the lower brackets or something, right? Like, and that's very frustrating about them. And they gotta find some consistency. And I'm not sure if it's about confidence. Like, what if you land those first 9-10 shots and suddenly like you feel like you're on top of your game and now you can dominate? But if it was that, then they wouldn't be able to win map 5s, right? Like, I appreciate it's a very hard issue to solve, right? Like for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Also, once again, like this tournament is of course asterisk due to their COVID situation. I think 5 people on that team had COVID, right? Like that's a substantial amount of people. So
yeah.
whatever happened here is like, but you don't. In order to make that argument, you don't even have to use Midseason Madness at all. You just look at their performances from previous regular season matches or the May Melee, and you're already there. You have everything that you need in order to be upset, right? Like, yeah,
even if you ignore this, the thing is, these results are a reflection of all the other results that Philly have had this year. So it's not even like specifically in a vacuum, just Midseason Madness. It's just a continuation, COVID or no COVID, of the entire year so far, where you can look like the best team in the world, just demolishing everybody, just like being so insane. You beat Seoul, you beat Shanghai, you're beating all these teams, but in equal measure, you just lose to Chengdu and Valiant and get reverse swept by the Valiant. That's the same team. The same team that will look phenomenal will then just get reverse swept by the Valiant. This is
Yep.
And for no discernible reason.
That's Philadelphia Fusion.
Zero discernible reason.
For no discernible reason. Not like you mentioned, like being, in a bad compositional matchup or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just like either they're on or they're off.
Yep.
It's like they will beat the Hangzhou Spark, who especially when they play up against. So here's how the Hangzhou Spark go. They already beat the Fusion. They 3-0 the Seoul Dynasty. They go 2-3 versus the LA Gladiators, where they were actually 2-1 against them during the series and had the match point, but then lost. And it was a very back and forth, super close series, high skill across the board. Hangzhou looked like one of the best teams in the world. I think they legitimately were.
Sure.
A team that was maybe either deserving of a top 4, maybe even a top 3 finish.
Yeah.
And had they beaten the Gladiators, they would have been guaranteed a top 3 finish. So we can say that this is a team that had the capability of being top 3, losing to the Fusion, who then just do the flip flop and then get owned by the Rain.
Yeah.
That's it's just like it would be as equally as disappointing if, for example, I go back to the Londons. Like imagine the London situation again. Florida beat them 3-2. But then instead of Florida going a close 2-3 versus Fusion, they just sharp get 0-3, look like they're not even playing the game.
Yeah.
Who's a key player on this team? Checkmate just gets subbed out, and it's Hydron and XC the whole time. You're like, where's Checkmate, guys? Just doesn't play again. And they lose 0-3, and they just don't even look close. That's the Fusion experience of beating Spark and then losing to Rain, right? And you're just like you just get this whiplash, like what the fuck just happened? Except it happens in the course of one day. They beat London and then lose to Fusion on the same day. And for no discernible reason, they just look 100% worse immediately in the next game they play. And it's happening in the same day for no discernible reason. That's the frustration. That's the frustration. So I don't want to be too unfair because the better team. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Right? I do subscribe by that. But I feel like it's just the way they won against Spark as well. Like that again, that new Queen Street just doesn't sit well for me. It just will not, because I feel like they got lucky. I feel like an in-game bug plus a magical sleep dart that wasn't even intended for the player that it hit just completely changed the series.
For sure.
And in some cases, you can look at the sleep dart and be like, well, that's XCOM, baby. But the grab into the pit, just like, that can't be fair.
Yeah.
And
not big.
And even if all that happens and Fusion win, just give me a close map. Give me a close loss versus the Rain, something to work with here.
Yeah.
But credit to the Rain, they fully went through the lower bracket. Finally lost to a team that you probably thought they would lose to anyway. Like, I don't think it's a big surprise that Gladiators did beat them, although it was at least that one Kings Row. Let's talk about the Gladiators Rain. It was at least that Kings Row win. Actually, no, it's probably better to talk about Glad's Shock first, because that was earlier chronologically. So talk about Glad's Shock, actually. Close 3-2. Very, very close 3-2. And, that Coliseum it's both that Coliseum and also the one versus Spark, where you just see, that Coliseum and also the one versus the Atlanta Rain, where you just see the quality of how good they can be on this map, where they can just come back from ridiculous margins. Now, the people that don't understand push will look at this game and be like, look, you can come back and push. It's like, you can't use one example or even just like two examples out of like God knows how many push games we've played now and be like, yeah, that's standard. You have to understand this is still an exception to the rule. This is a very unique thing that Gladiators do that other teams can't do.
Arguably
Somehow
a
they
throw as
came.
well. Arguably a throwaway shock as well.
It does require the team losing that situation to evaluate what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So that you do have to consider those. But yeah, what meterage they started? I think Shock got 100 pretty early, didn't they? It seemed like Shock got a very early lead, like an extremely early lead, and Glads had to work for that comeback like you wouldn't believe. They had to like play out of their minds to make that comeback. Right.
I think that's how it happened. And the more reason is just like you are favored in Overwatch in certain fights just by the nature of how the ebb and flow of ultimates work, right? In the battle,
oh yeah, Shock did get 106. They got 106.81 right at the start within.
What was the comparison?
4 minutes.
Sorry, 106 and
106 meters and
against
Glads. 106 meters and 8.81 against Glads in the first 3.5 minutes of Colosseum.
Okay, and Glads was 0?
Glads was 8 meters.
8 meters.
Just 8.
Okay, right. Yeah, like it just
so 98 meters behind.
Like you got to count, but that must have taken like 3 or 4 fights, right, to get back to that position. In Overwatch, to string together 3 or 4 fights, even if you're the best team in the world, and then also fights into unfavorable positions, is not something that you should be allowed to do.
No, not at all.
Literally only the best team in the world, which is currently Glads, can do.
Yeah, and even then, I would say the second best team in the world, which might be Shock, shouldn't allow.
No.
Ideally.
Right.
Because once you get a 100-meter lead like that,
yeah, that should be a wrap.
You have the entire rest of the map to just defend that meterage, and it's always favorable to be the defending team.
Yeah.
And you will have respawn advantage for literally the rest of the map.
Yeah.
Because Glads have to push into your respawns and you don't have to push in theirs.
Yeah. Because one thing you
choose the code of engagement. You will eventually have an ult advantage, therefore pushing it back because you're winning your power play, so to speak, or you're supposed to win your power play. I don't know, like they have just also by the map architecture that you can exploit. Like you can take fights from high ground. We saw that shit when Violet abused the shit out of it against London, right?
Yep.
Like shenanigans like this can go on. There's no reason why you can come back 100 meters differences. It's just a misplay.
You have to misplay, like you said. Like,
by the way,
tremendously.
Glads didn't win every single fight. I mean, there are fights that Shock win the middle of that, but because Shock were slowly getting meterage each time, and by the way, getting meters on push, the deeper into enemy territory you get, the more difficult each meter is to get as well. So the first 10 meters is significantly easier than the next 10 meters, then the next 10 meters, and the next 10 meters, right? So, yeah, Glads actually did lose a fight around the 60 meterish mark. They didn't actually cap, and they won a subsequent fight, then capped, and then I guess they just kept on snowballing through. Shock failed to be able to make the comeback happen in terms of winning fights. I think they won another fight at 92. But at this point, the payload's in a position where, like, because they did the groundwork of getting it to 92 in the first place, which is Gladiators on their sort of reapproach during the 6.5 minutes over the course of very, very many fights. Yeah, I guess they just needed to win like one more good fight to push it the rest of the way.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, that's hype as hell that it happened, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't. Like,
in normal cases, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
This is you have to identify this as an abnormal event. Now, it's uncanny that Glads did this twice, but that says a lot more about Glads than it does about anything else in this conversation. It just says that Glads are an unreal team. Because they did something that was unbelievably hard to do, that other teams would not be able to do, that literally other teams didn't do. Because
most teams don't do this. Yeah.
Most teams don't even get close. Most teams would get like a just a little, we existed participation 20 meters, and then they just lose 20 to 100 and whatever like that.
Yeah.
Yep. I think push has gotten a little bit better. And I think we've talked about this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it just personally, but it is going to be yes. And it is going to be an interesting narrative to revisit after the season's done, to really see throughout, maybe even 5 very distinct metagames.
People use the excuse of like, oh well, the teams are still figuring out push. People don't know what they're doing yet, as like why it's like maybe not good. But now it's like I would argue the teams know exactly what they're doing in this push, because like there's a certain flow chart in my mind of how things are meant to go on this map that is like exactly played out by teams and decision making wise. It's the only game mode where the winning team, after winning a fight, because they lost one fucking member, they have to back out and give control to the other team. It would be like if you played Koth, you played Lijiang Tower, you cap the point, but because you lost one member, you have to go back to spawn and allow the other team to cap the point back. That'd be the literal 1-to-1 comparison. That's how stupid it is. So, but teams have to do that because you can't take the 4v5 in this game, because the payload is moving towards the enemy team and you're getting close to entering a fight, and you can't reset unless you completely give up control of the objective. So that's the thing about push. So yeah, not to get too deep into it, but just to give a glimpse of like where high level strategy on push is. The simple concept of the fact that the winning team has to be punished for is punished for winning simply because they lost one member is a ludicrous concept, but that's the reality of how it is played at the pro level.
It is very punishing to get as deep as you go in there. So it's to be determined. I would say.
But in any case, this game, I think what it does show is that even the best team in the world is going to be pushed and play up against tight competition where Shock actually win.
Sure.
So it's not like a given. I think the great thing about this tournament is that it was not a given that either Glads or Shock were just going to come and roll the entire bracket and just like clean sweep and just be like, fuck everybody, we're SKTT won from 2015. No one comes close. Like, that's just not what it is. It's actually a close enough affair that when you look at who won and who lost, Shock could have easily have won this tournament, given that they did also beat Glads in a best of 5. But in the same vein, Shock also would have been, if you look at it from a BO5 situation only, they would have been 3-0 swept by Glads in the grand finals if it was a BO5. So a couple of different ways you can look at it. But given that every team lost, there's no team that went flawless in the entire bracket, right? I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah. I do want to put a pin in the idea that like this match set expectations for the grand final. And obviously our next, topic point isn't going to be the grand final, but I do want to put a pin in like the expectations set from the upper bracket semifinal. But we'll get to that.
Final thoughts on this match before we move to the Atlanta one?
That was good. Rewatch it.
Yeah.
Another incredible, display of Overwatch 2 and how good this game can be.
Even though I will say it wasn't as good as Spark Glass.
Sure.
Right?
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Oh, not every game is going to be a gigabanger of all gigabangers ever.
Yeah.
The Spark Glass game was very unique because there were so many major pop-off moments individually, team-wise, just all sorts of crazy things happening.
Yeah.
So Atlanta versus Gladiators then. I'm gonna need a bit of help on this one. I didn't watch this game as closely as others because I was heaving mom's spaghetti in the toilet, getting ready to cast the finals.
Sure, yeah. Like you had quite other things prepared to get ready for.
I was knees weak, arms are heavy moment for me as I got ready. Yeah. So
nice.
I think this went to game script. Like you can celebrate Atlanta in their run, but when you look at Glads, like they're just a little bit different, right? Like you can look at Venom and you can celebrate how good he is on Tracer, just pound for pound. You can go down the list and it's just like, yeah, but Glads has like the answer. Like they're just a little bit better pound for pound. They have the wider playbook. Like, I don't even know if I would say Hawk is...
Say the thing, Yiska. Say the thing.
Ticket?
Say the line.
More tickets. All right, yes. Sorry, Joe. Continue.
I think the only thing that was like mildly surprising is like Glad's struggle to like wrap up King's Row, or rather maybe even defend it. Like they come into the second round with a minute on the time
AVRL?
bank. Go ahead.
I think this is a great map choice by the Atlanta Reign. They took Gladiators to a Sigma map,
Mm-hmm.
and
Late Sigma.
obviously they play Sigma. They got to play one of Hawk's good heroes, and Glad's. I don't know what their prep on this map was like, but they made the very conscious choice not to play Space here, probably because their practice had Rhino on this map, just playing normal Rhino stuff.
Yeah.
And this is where you do have to. I know there's a lot of Rhino sims out there, and don't get me wrong, I think he is a major rookie of the year candidate. Is fantastic at the game, and is, in my opinion, the best Western main tank currently.
Mm.
But you have to look at Rhino through the lens of, you can't be the jote, I hate that term, the jack of all trades tank, when you go to a Sigma dominated map and Reiner can only just play Winston. So for all the people that are saying like, yeah, but Reiner flexible, it's like, didn't see it on King's Row.
Yeah.
You got to prove that to me. Like, I don't think you can't just, all the fans just throwing out those terms, just like, oh, he's a hyper flex tank. It's like, but was he? Didn't play the Sigma on King's Row.
Yeah,
And that might be a
show me
team
that.
decision, but
Show
yeah.
me that in an off tank. Show me that in an off tank meta that he's going to be able to compete with Harmbit on Zarya. You can't be revisionist about it. You go back to KC. He played. They figured, to their credit, Glides figured out a counter comp, and they played the Rhine into the Zarya, which I think is correct. You're supposed to be doing that, but you know, in order to be fair in this discussion, Hawk needs to work on his main tanks in the same way that Reiner has to get these off tanks into his hero pool comparable to other off tank players to really be up there, right?
Yep.
Because we see Brad say like, "Oh, Hawk's super slept on, best tank in the world in his opinion," and us being critical, we're like, "Okay, well, you got to show me the Winston, you got to show me the Rhine."
Yeah.
Yep.
So applying the same logic, Reiner's got to show me the Sigma, show me the Zarya, show me the off tanks. And they all have to show the Jungle Queen in the next patch. But you know, you have to, because here's the thing: is like, okay, did Soul lose? Yeah, they got fucking blown out of the water. but like, you know,
you can trust Smurf.
We're not gonna. I don't know how deep you want to get in a conversation about like where Smurf was there. It's still a team game, but like, you know, Smurf is still a very reliable player that is one of the only true players in this entire league that has shown that he plays everything across the board, and for it to be comparable. And from having looked over his games over the course of the season where he was fucking shit on Sigma, but because he was their only tank player that he had to learn it, he eventually got quite good at it. He actually got comparable. He got comparable to the real Sigma players in APAC, the guys like Void, right? People that have been, players like Fury that have been playing this hero for their entire careers. And Smurf got comparable on that hero, on the Zarya. Played a tiny bit of D.Va. Not that D.Va's been relevant in this meta at all at any point. But Smurfs had to play everything across the board. So like, you know, that you have to and be comparable to his counterparts. I think, you know, I don't think it's a matter of like, yeah, because if you're trying to come into this argument with bad faith, which a lot of people do, and shame on you, you'll say like, yeah, but Smurf's not the best Sigma in the world. It's like, that's not the fucking point. He doesn't have to, it's not meant to be the best. He just has to be comparable to the off-tank players on other teams who are playing this hero. That's the benchmark. Hawk has to be comparable on Winston and Ryan compared to the people that have been playing Winston and Ryan for the entire careers. Reiner has to be comparable on the Zarya, the D.Va, all those other off-tanks of Sigma versus the players like Hawk that have played these heroes for their careers. That's the benchmark they have to hit.
And I think the way that like you can approach this, or the way that maybe I'll repackage like that entire argument, because I agree, like, I think most tanks in general have some holes, but like this is the first time we're really seeing people not necessarily step outside of their comfort zone, but like the demand from the tanks is so much greater now that it's shining a light on a lot of these deficiencies that we've kind of just like nodded to in the past, but like they didn't matter because you have another tank to kind of pick up the slack. Now it's just not the case anymore. And like, yeah, you might be Houston, you might be, you know, Atlanta in some cases where like you can just gamba the tickets and you get your comp and you can be proficient at it. But when you compare a lot like these top 4 main tanks, right? Or let's just call it top 3 for argument's sake. You look at Smurf, you look at Reiner, you look at Hawk. Like they're showing us things that like a lot of other people just aren't doing, right? You look at London. London's a weird case just because like they're almost tailoring their season around one specific tank most of the time. They do play Winston, and obviously Hottie did show us some Wrecking Ball, but in the vast majority of cases,
Hottie's not playing Sigma for you.
Yeah, no. But like these other 3 tanks are showing us something completely different. They aren't bulletproof. They have their holes that they probably will fix them by season's end. But like it's tough to compare them because I think you have to compare them within their role. And that said, if they feel very standoutish, and I don't know if I'm like getting to the point or making my point very clear, but like when you compare them versus their peers, they're doing things that other people struggle to do at like a very basic level. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I would even say that someone is not completely comfortable on
Sure.
some of his off picks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like part of the strategy for Florida is that they specifically don't go to Sigma maps or like off tank heavy maps. Like you don't see them pick the Circuit Royales. You see them pick the Watchpoint Gibraltars. Why? Because it's a good Winston map for someone, and XC can still snipe there. But if they had a Six Sigma play on that team, or if someone had that himself, they would go to Circuit Royale. XC would comfortably snipe on that map as he does on other maps, and they'd be fine. That's why teams like Rain love to go to Circuit because they trust in their ability to cover all the pieces that required. Yeah. So otherwise, Kings Row aside, this series is probably as standard. Glad's are good where they're normally good at. Glad's pick the Watchpoint Gibraltar. No surprises there. You wouldn't want to take Rain to Circuit when that was one of their best maps. Kai is discussing on the Widow there. Hawk Sigma is exactly in his comfort zone on that map. You want to be taking Hawk to a Winston favor map where you're going to diff him, and that is again is going to be the fair criticism of Hawk is like when you go to a Winston map and you have to play against Reiner in a Winston matchup,
it's going to be a little rough.
You got to compare. So it's the same conversation, like if Glads are going to, not Glad, well, Rain are going to take Glads to Kings Row, and you are going to choose to not put space in, then Reiner's got to step up and square up versus Hawk in that matchup, or you lose, and they did lose. And the same conversation is going to be now 180 to Hawk going into Gibraltar versus Reiner. It's like got to square up in the Winston, otherwise you can't be the best tank.
Yep, would agree. But yeah, outside of that, it was just very, Glads is just a. I hate to say it because like we have just like big underrated Atlanta. Everybody underrates Atlanta, but like calling a spade, Glads just was the team to advance. Like they were just the better team. I don't think it was like particularly close coming into this game. It was like, that was to be expected. Glads was the better team. Atlanta, I think should have impressed a lot of people. I don't know if they actually did, just because, like you said, there is a stigma around them.
People aren't fair about Atlanta. People are unreasonably unfair about Atlanta because if you put any other team, like even Houston, who are a pretty close team, if you put Houston in the exact same shoes as Atlanta and had them run through the entire low bracket then lose to Gladiators, everyone would be celebrating Houston.
Yeah.
But like very few people are looking at Atlanta being impressed for some reason. Which is disappointing because I think Atlanta played out of their minds to get this stage after losing to London the way they did. After getting diffed by Bone back to being at this stage is pretty crazy. So
many matches you got to like if Atlanta had won this tournament, I think they would have had to win 7 or play 7 matches, right? Like that's crazy, the amount of matches. So yeah, I think
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If they beat Glads and then go to grand finals would be map 7 or game 7 rather.
Yeah,
but I agree with Joe. Like I think the Glads matchup, and it would have been the same for the Shock matchup as well, is the one where you probably did expect them to lose because there's a very established hierarchy in NA where
we've seen these teams play before.
We know Glads and Shock are the top 2 teams, and so like because there's a far more established hierarchy, it's a lot easier to just be in a position of expectation to know that Glads were heavily favored. It would be like pre-Seoul shitting the bed this tournament.
Yeah.
Anybody going up against Seoul in APAC, there's an established hierarchy. If it's Seoul, then everybody else. The other 6 do fluctuate because the other 6 take games off each other very comfortably. But Seoul had been the top dogs for a while. So yeah, that it being more of an established hierarchy in A definitely leads to the fact that you probably did view Atlanta as major underdogs here. And I actually talked to a coach about some of the upcoming games, and they had actually said to me that they kind of wouldn't have been surprised if Atlanta did win against the Glads, just because of and it wasn't an Atlanta coach, for those that are curious. It's not just like, I think my team's going to win. No, it was I'm not going to say who, but the point is, like, they actually had a lot of faith in Atlanta, which I think is fair enough, because Atlanta had been kind of, rampaging through the lower brackets. So there's a world in where, like, maybe Atlanta just show up and do something. But they would have to be climbing uphill versus Glads. But
like, the thing is, in my mind, it's always like, if it's true that the Gladiators have a bad matchup against London, the Reign have a bad matchup against London, I feel like that necessarily also translates to the Gladiators, because Gladiators can just, like, play all the styles that London has to offer, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is true. They did come out of Kickoff Clash with a little bit of that brawl look, so makes sense.
Are we just about ready to get into the grand finals then? This is the moment we've been waiting for?
I think, it only is fair if you take that charge and, take us through the POV, load us into the hub. We're clicking on AVRL POV grand finals.
Yeah.
Big nut.
So
what was that like?
So you're getting off the toilet, you're wiping off the carbonara
Speaking
sauce.
of the toilet.
Okay. Well, I guess in that situation, I'm talking a little bit more about tickets. But, like, I think that's legitimately like, without talking to both of those teams, it seems pretty obvious to me that Gladiators and London have scrimmed a decent amount before. I think, like, Glads went to the Xerox machine, took London's ticket, and got a pretty good version of it that at times can even be seen as better of the London ticket than that original, right? So, yeah, I don't know, like, in that sense, once again, like, you gotta think that the Gladiators comes into this final and has the most tickets. Now, the tickets, do they imply within a meta? Because, like, I explained them to be more like a, like a new meta happens now. That's the thing. Well, it also happens to have some effect in a rock, paper, scissors scenario, right? And then, of course, like, tickets, once again, it's mostly down to probability. And, like, whoever plays nuts on any given day is going to be crazy. So, I don't know about you, Joe, but when that grand final happened, there's no big disadvantage to the team that comes from the lower bracket, other than, I think, giving up first mag pick. I'm still, and this is head ass, I agree that it's probably not the right thing to do, but to me, the Gladiators are still the favorites, especially in a best of 7.
To say that they're the favorites, yeah.
Did you guys talk about the finals yet?
No, we're kind of starting to. I think I agreed with you last show that, like, just pound for pound, paper versus paper, like, it's firepower versus flexibility. Like, can the shock just overcome, like, all the different kinds of looks that Glads could throw them? So, like, I don't hate it. I think this was just like it's not that they don't have flexibility. It's just, like, the styles that they can play are a little bit, like, thinner comparatively to the Glads, right? When you look at Shock and you have to see them on, like, Eichenwald and their pick is like, let's put Kalush on Diva. Like, yeah, it works, but like let's not make bones about this. Like it's just like not a good comp. Like they make it work just because they're the Shock, but it's not good.
Let's get into the matchup proper. Sorry, I needed to just thinking about the finals brought up more spaghetti for me, and I had to empty all that out. So, yeah.
Get us into your head coming into this game, because it's one of you know. Is this fair to say? Like the biggest cast of your career?
What I had. Oh, yeah, it is. It is. Okay. What I had in my brain was that finally people can shut the fuck up about this whole APAC thing, because I'm casting 2 NA teams now.
Sure.
And still there were some cringy motherfuckers.
Proper bias.
Couldn't
APAC bias.
Yeah, they're like bringing up some APAC shows. Like, guys, it's an NA versus NA final. Mm-hmm. And some cringe ass motherfuckers are still like trying to come at me. And it's like, I don't give a fuck anymore I don't care who wins. Please, I've established already. If you wanted me to be biased, I would be biased to the teams that I have fucking friends on. So how can you, people like, oh, you know, this guy's dick riding for APAC. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to be the biggest NA dick rider you've ever seen. If you think I was dick riding for APAC, you haven't fucking seen shit. I'm going to be fucking double deep throating NA like you wouldn't. I'm going to be the fucking grapefruit bitch ass, just fucking in there. I will motorboat the fuck out of NA just to piss you off now. So if you want some insufferability, you're fucking about to get it. No, so but what it is like, yeah, this is a huge game. I have a lot of respect for both teams, and I think it would have been awesome either way, because either proper wins or my friends in the Glads win. Or, you know, people that I'm close to on the Shock win as well, which I'm happy about, because Corey on NRG on the Shock is fucking awesome. Their coaching staff are cool as well. And you know, obviously there's guys on that team from O2 Blast who I've been casting for a long time.
Sure.
So no matter what, you know, this was going to be a good game. And because we already had the 3-2 matchup established, I felt like it was going to be a close one as well. I was really hoping for a close one, because we haven't always had the best finals in Overwatch League.
Yes.
So,
and that's where I have to ask you to put yourself back into the match for a moment, right? We go back, rewind. We're in AVRL's brain. We've just finished Watchpoint Gibraltar. The Glads are up 3-0. Are you shitting your pants? Like, fuck, man.
It is what it is. I don't like it. You know, if the Glads win and Shock don't show up and it's a 4-0, then what do you do? It's not like I've never casted a one-sided.
No, of course not. Of course not. But it's and that's where I want to like take the pin out of the board from the upper bracket semifinal, and looking at like the expectations of this game, that like Shock and Glads go close. Like it's game 5, it's down to the wire. Like you don't know who's really going to win until it happens, right? And then we load into these first 3 maps, and it's like, oh no, what has gone wrong? Because the Shock just are not there. Like outside of Ilios, it was kind of absent, right?
Well, I made very specific call outs to map choices here, because something that's very important in any sort of playoff tournament style matchup is map choice does matter, you know.
Of course, yeah.
And people that there's a whole, obviously whenever you get to a double Elam Grand Finals and the team from the winners bracket lose, you're inviting a whole lot of the like, oh, bracket reset crowd. You're going to get a lot of that crowd coming on through, because for some reason, and this is what they do, by the way, they always bring up FGC and Smash Bros or some shit, and it's just like they think our best of 7s take like 20 minutes to finish or something.
Yeah, they don't care about the logistics. They don't care about player strain. They just want it because fairness.
Like, do you understand how long our games take? You want to reset the bracket and play another BO7? Are you crazy? No. Do you not understand how difficult that is and how long that is? We're not playing 20-minute Smash games, guys. It's not fighting games, people. We're not playing like fucking games that take a minute around.
Let's not forget, like between those 2 teams, Glads actually won 1 more map as well, right? Like it was a 3-2 the first time around.
Correct.
For
if you're looking at like the head-to-head.
Then they won 4-2. So
talking about that.
Yeah.
Right. From that Spanish perspective.
So if you combine that together, that is interesting as well. No, it's just so that aside, I think there was a greater point I was going to get to. Part of the advantage of being a winners bracket is one, you don't play twice on the second day, which people will now get into the argument of like maybe it's better to play twice. I will still say that for the most part, it's more exhausting, way more exhausting to play twice. The only time it's better is if the winners bracket team, in this case Shock, don't have a warm up at all and just have to go in cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got a warm up. I don't know what type of warm up they had, but if you do have to go in cold, I do think that is a little bit fucked. But I don't know what else you can do about that.
Yeah.
But in most parts, I think most teams would probably still prefer to have the guaranteed finals, not have to worry about losing in the losers finals, and like potentially playing a close game, and getting there. Because here's the alternate history. Here's the multiverse version of this. If they played against Spark, would it have been a closer game than the Atlanta game? I think if you use the previous Spark Glads game as a benchmark, then maybe. And if the Glads had to really fucking go ham to beat the lower bracket team, not to say that Atlanta didn't put up enough of a fight, because Atlanta also did take a map in there, but I think we were all I think everyone mostly favored the Glads to win that one, unless you're a hardcore Atlanta fan. Yeah, for the most part, like if you have to play a very intense best of 5 right before the grand finals, and there's only about a 20 to 30 minute break, I'm pretty sure the lower bracket game finished. I hopped on the mic and I got told, 20 minutes to finals. I'm like, oh, there's like, it's not a big break. It's not a very big break. It's enough of a break where, you get a drink, take a shit, and just like, if you have your own mom's spaghetti, you deal with that.
Yeah.
And then you just got to get ready to play again straight away. And it's a lot for the coaching staff, by the way. This is the really underrated thing is in a game like Overwatch, this is where you can't compare it to Smash, because you don't have a team of coaching staff that have to go through all these different matchups, map choices, and all these different tactics on each map and all this kind of stuff against different types of opponents with different strengths, like versus going up against Atlanta is a different kind of prep than going up against the Shock. So people don't understand. It's like, you can't don't just fucking bring up Smash Brothers where like a dude, Hungry Box and Mango just fucking walk up there and do their thing, where you don't have a fucking whole team of coaches behind you that have to figure this shit out. For the coaching staff of Glads to prep for 2 different matches at the same time is difficult to do. And you can't over prep for Shock, because if you over prep for Shock and you're not prep versus Atlanta, we've seen plenty of teams fall over in the lower bracket game because they assumed they were going to win and they misprepared, right? They didn't prepare for the right game. I don't know if it's fair to say Dallas did that last year, because Dallas probably thought they were going to beat Atlanta and then just didn't. I think we all thought that Dallas was going to go to the grand finals and not Atlanta, right? And I don't know if maybe Dallas didn't. Maybe Dallas didn't just like, maybe Rush didn't give the respect over to Atlanta. Maybe I'm just making shit up, but like that's a possible thing that does happen where, you think Shanghai is going to be your main opponent, but then you lose the other guy, and that could have easily happened to Glads here if they just over prep for Shock and don't respect Atlanta, they just lose to Atlanta. So you have to put in, equal amounts of prep for both, and then hopefully you beat Atlanta, and then you get to go into your Shock prep. But it's a big fucking job for the coaching staff. And also the map choices. The winners bracket team gets a map choice, which, look, you will say here that it didn't help Shock, but that's because they fucking chose a map for the Gladiators.
Yeah.
It's like, for the map choices to matter, you have to make it mean something. Like if you're going to throw out a random map that doesn't help you, then of course it doesn't matter. So, it's up to the teams to make the map choices work in their favor. And typically having first map choice is a very strong thing.
Sure.
It's matchup dependent, obviously, versus a team like London. It's a gigantic advantage because you can just take them away from Rhine maps instantly. I have a bit of a theory behind Shock's map choices, but I will say, before I get into detail, I'll let you guys get your opinions on it as well. There were the 2 map choices in the first 3 maps that were a little bit confusing, that most people have gravitated towards, that I myself have gravitated towards as well, which is the Ilios and Gibraltar choices over the Oasis and Circuit Royale choices. And I think that is partially why we got a 3-0 to start with.
Yeah, Ilios is tough. I don't see, and maybe you can correct like the record here for me. I don't like get why
I have some theories.
I don't see a discernible difference, let's say. I see maybe Shock playing a little Irish lady and maybe like trying to make some use out of it there. They've been a big Irish lady enjoyer, let's say. And then yeah, the Circuit Royal dodge was kind of interesting to say the least. When you look at like the flavor of Gibraltar, you look at like what you can do there and you can do on Circuit Royal, and I don't know, it just was, there were some odd ones from the Shock for sure. So if you have theories, I'm all ears.
I wrote up a mini document about map drafting strategy between these two teams. And you'll remember from previous episodes of TCP, I brought up specific map drafting strategies versus London as well, because I think they're a very good team to formulate the idea of map drafting strategy. So I brought up like, okay, this is how you draft against London. If you draft in this order, you will probably beat them in terms of like expected outcomes and percentage chance of winning. Now, in this particular matchup, it just comes down to like which maps are favored for who and who prefers to go where. I'll break down the Circuit Royale pick / lack of pick first, just to give a precedent in terms of what I'm talking about, and then we'll get to Ilios. So the reason why, and this is why we'll get to why I don't hate the Ilios pick as much as I dislike the Gibraltar pick. And the reason for that is because Circuit Royale had been so strong for the Shock in comparison to the Gladiators. One of those reasons is going to come down to the tank matchup. Sigma is Kaluja's best hero. Kaluja's their starting tank player. That is a very strong position to put Kaluja in. You have Kilo, who's been shown so far in the tournament up until this stage to be a much better sniper player than Arns. In fact, he fucking destroyed Arns the last time we went to Circuit Royale. And you have Proper, who really shouldn't be a hidden weapon, but just comes on a Sojin and gets a deadlift on Circuit Royale. So just fucking dominates on Circuit Royale. He got I can't remember the stat now. He got an insane. I think he got 65% of final blows. I think Reinforce had that stat. 65% of final blows on Circuit Royale over the whole course of the whole map on Sojin. So he wasn't even the Widowmaker player. You're not even playing the hero that's supposed to carry the hardest there, and you still got 65% of final blows. That's how crazy good Proper was on that map. Then you get to play obviously double flex support, super strong for Finn and Violet. Violet gets to play his signature BAP as well. You know, you got everything going for you. Finn gets plays in. Like, holy shit, that's like everybody's best heroes all in one go, you know? So that is a monstrous lineup for the Shock to be playing Circuit Royale. They are a phenomenal circuit team. So
why pick Jibby?
Well, that's the fucking $250,000 question, isn't it? That's a $250,000 question. Why pick Jibby? I've got a couple theories. One is they wanted to try and surprise the Gladiators, like, oh, you thought we were going circuit. In which case, it doesn't work for Gladiators because, like, oh, we're surprised, but thank you. You picked a map that's good for us. Why is Gibraltar good for Glads? Well, you can see their history of, first of all, their history of picking Gibraltar as third maps. Glads have a large history of doing that so far this tournament. Second of all, they want a Winston map for Rhino. They want a map where they get to play their starting tank player on their best hero.
That favors them.
On a map that favors your tank player. On a map that, okay, well, Arn still has to play Widowmaker, but that doesn't matter. He has to play Widowmaker wherever. So it's just up to Arns to show up, and he did show up. And then you get to play Kefsa on either Genji or Tracer, which is really, really good. That's a great matchup for him versus if you went to Circuit, what does Kefsa play? Does he play the Sojin? What did Kevster play? Someone check for me. What is Glad Shock? You know what? I'll just do it. Circuit Royale. What did Kevster play? Who played? Was Kevster playing? Because he wouldn't have been subbed out. Kevster was on Sojin. Not gonna lie to you folks, he got fucking pumped by Proper in that matchup. They all did. All the Glads got fucking railed by Proper in that matchup in more ways than one, if you can use your imagination. So you are now putting Kevster on a much better hero for him on either Tracer or Genji, both that he's super well known for, other than the Sojin, which Proper was dominant on. And yeah, like these are already things. The other thing is, like, the other reason why Circuit's bad for Glads is as much as I think Space is a good play, and Space's Sigma is definitely not a problem for the team,
Sure.
the problem is not the matchup in terms of what heroes he's picking. The problem is in scrim time and preparation.
Yep.
Space only plays Circuit for this team. He doesn't get subbed in for any other map. He didn't even get subbed in for King's Row, which is another Sigma map. Granted, King's Row is not as guaranteed of a Sigma must run than Circuit is. Circuit is like, if you don't play Sigma, you're just not fucking playing the right game.
Yeah.
At least on Kings, there are other strategies, but they are not as good as a Sigma.
Sure.
It's not impossible to win without the Sigma, which is why Gladiators didn't play it. But you really should be playing the Sigma if you want your best chance of winning, which is why everyone mostly plays the Sigma on that map.
Yep.
So they bring in Space only for Circuits. There's only map he plays. Why is that a problem? Because he doesn't have the scrim time. Because he's currently a substitute and he's not the starting tank player on this team. Reiner gets all the scrim time. Space doesn't really get to play unless they're on Circuit Royale, which is, and this is whole tank substitution discussion that happened when Brad announced that he was going to put all his focus onto Hawk, which I think is the right call to make, because you want to be producing one great tank play and not having to share that time between two people, which is also why Mayhem cut Adam and just someone was just there, now their guy, right? This is not a new thing. Teams are currently doing this in Overwatch 2 because they're not getting the most out of scrims if they're having to play with two people and substitute them in. You have two guys going 50% instead of one guy going 100% is what it is.
Yep.
So Space only gets to play this one map. Even though he's a good individual player, hard to play up against a Shark when Kaluj is a starting player on this team, playing his best hero. In Space, this is the only map he plays, and he doesn't get as much time to play with the team. So he's not as prepped in terms of his own time with the team.
It feels like such a throw for them to not pick Circuit here. It's
100%.
I do not get it. I think like this again, like credit to you. You're drafting a very comprehensive approach to this escort pick, and it's like you look at the lack of scrim time they've had with Space, or the assumed lack of scrim time. You look at like how dominant they were just a match prior in the head-to-head against this team. How do you not just take them? Like, how do you pick into, like, you just give them the pick? You literally go, here you go.
They basically gave Glads the map choice twice when they shouldn't have.
It's
this
wild.
one's far less excusable. I have a theory for the Ilios one. I don't really have a good response here. I don't have some co-PM response for Shock is why they went to Gibraltar instead of Circuit. And I think I've explained pretty comprehensively why they should have gone to Circuit instead of Gibraltar. This is also why, by the way, that like there's some discussions that I had where people will always give the team the benefit of the doubt, and then they'll just assume I'm stupid. Like some discussions I've had were like, just like, oh, but how could you question Krusty and blah, blah, blah. It's like, so you just think coaches don't never make mistakes, do you? And you just
nobody.
What fairy tale do you live in where you think all these coaches are perfect and never make mistakes? That's why coaches have very secure jobs that don't have turnover, right? That's why coaches definitely don't get kicked mid-season a la Kuki. Yeah, Cope harder, thank you. This is a clear mistake. This is a clear example, I think, of a coaching error. Legitimately, this one is hard for me to decipher.
To be fair, like, I agree, map choices matter. I don't want the public to like just run with this and be like, it was the map choice. Let's be honest, and you can correct the record and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Kilo had a terrible watch point in Gibraltar. Like he was not there.
In comparison to where you have to remember, and I still have to get this Ilios point out of the way very quickly.
Sure,
so
go ahead.
You have to remember that Widowmaker is a very streaky hero.
Agreed.
You are gonna have on moments. It's a very hot and cold hero. This is why the 2020 ARNS thing was such a unreal performance, because we never. It wasn't about the peak of Widowmaker, because the peak of Widowmaker is like the Taimu shit he was doing in Apex.
Yeah.
I think anybody who has seen Overwatch over the court history of Overwatch, you probably, if you are going to be fair about ARNS' 2020 performance, you are not walking to that and saying this is the best, highest skilled Widowmaker that we've ever seen in terms of pure pop-off, pure shots, that crazy shots he's landing, pure like mechanics being shown. Because I would say that Taimu in his time in Apex had some of the wildest shit we've ever seen in Widowmaker, right? Why ARNS was the best Widowmaker anyway, despite that in 2020 and maybe in the history of Widowmakers, is not because of the verticality of how hard he's popping off, but in terms of how consistently he's able to just be hot on this hero.
Sure.
on a very hot and cold hero where you're going to have hot days, cold days, and even within the same map, you're going to have hot and cold moments. I mean, you go back to the MN3 pop off on
Mm-hmm.
both this map on Circuit Royale and also the Ash gameplay on New Queen Street that I and multiple other people have said it was maybe one of the hardest pop off performances ever. When you really dissect that performance, that is still hot and cold because it's not like every fight MN3 is just there popping 3Ks.
Yeah.
No, he's popping 3Ks, and then another fight he's a bit quiet, hitting some body shots, and then maybe another fight he'll kill one guy, and then the fourth fight he'll pop off again and get like a 3K. It's not all the time, which is why like Widowmaker consistency or sniping consistency, I think, is the main thing and the main metric that I define good Widowmaker play by. So it's not just about like what is the craziest 720 no scope that you've ever hit. It's not about that for me. It's about like how often can you just reliably get a pick every fight. Just one. Doesn't have to be fucking more than one. Doesn't have to be 2, 3, 4, 5. Just one. Which is why that Kai performance on Circuit Royale versus I think was London was so disgusting, because every fight it seemed like he was getting a kill. Just one. Just one is all that matters. So yeah, I don't think Kilo was like bad. I just think like, you know, Arns showed up, and when one Widowmaker really shows up, he can make the other Widowmaker look worse. Do you know what I mean? Like Kilo can still be good, but if Arns is on a different level for that particular map, then there's not a lot Kilo can do. He just has to take shit.
Agreed. Like, and I think, and I hate to echo the same thing, but like Kilo is kind of known coming into this season from contenders. Like he is kind of like a little bit of a streaky player. Maybe not merit streaky, but
he plays streaky heroes like Ash and
sure,
Widowmaker.
Fair. And it's not that he didn't come into the series at all. Like he had his moments in the series where he woke up and actually like was on.
I'm trying to figure out where the Kilo like inconsistency narrative came from. I have a feeling it might have come from me. Maybe it did come from me. I think it's either from me or from the fact that he wasn't a starting player in the Sombra meta, and people forget that the reason he wasn't a starting player was because he wasn't the Sombra player on the team and Merit was. Right? I think that's part of it as well.
Sure, yeah.
But
so Ilios, before we completely forget.
Yeah, we'll allow Yiska to come in at some point as well. But I don't know if Yiska's still alive.
I'm alive.
The Ilios pick. I don't hate this as much because Shock have had a history of going to Ilios.
Okay.
They actually have first pick Ilios in other series. And I think they legitimately do want to pick Ilios for like, I don't know, maybe they have a lot of trust in the Mikey Ball and stuff like that. And so it's not like out of the question for them to go to Ilios. There's another like deeper, like, you know, red string on the board with photographs, like real get into the deep end of the tinfoil I had about this. Another theory that got brought up, which I thought was quite interesting. A credit to Reinforce for actually this one that actually did make a lot of sense. Was there is a legitimate conversation to be had about Shock picking Ilios as a legitimate throw pick. When I say legitimate throw pick, I mean like they intended to pick this map under the full impression that they could be not to lose, under the impression that they could lose. Why do I say this? Because when you look at the map order, here's the discussion to be had. The map order is control, hybrid, escort, push, control, escort, hybrid. I think it was last two was escort push. Then it got changed to escort hybrid. I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
So the way this goes is you want to get rid of one of the good Gladiators maps very early. You know that Gladiators are good at Ilios. Why do you know? Because we just played here. You've played Gladiators and Ilios. And
so you're gaming it to not end up on like map 5. Ilios.
They literally. So here's the thing. Ilios was played by Gladiators versus Hangzhou. It was a 2-0. Hunting Astra came in, fucking diffed them. Lucio, Alpha Yi in the pit, all that kind of shit, right? Good shit. You know, crazy gameplay by the Lucio. Shock also then plays Glads on the same Ilios pick. They lose. Glads beat them again in 2-0 Ilios. So here's the theory. And again, we are applying the tinfoil hat theory. I'm not saying this is a guarantee what it is, but I think this is applicable.
Sure.
If you are Shock, there is a world where you look at this like, we want to go to Oasis, but we also want to get rid of Ilios in the pool. Reason why we would pick Ilios here, and because here's the two scenarios. You either pick Oasis now, which is your good control map, and then you win, and then Glads pick Midtown, and you continue through the series. Or you're in a situation where you get to pick Oasis as map 5, and then Glads go and pick whatever escort map they pick. So here's how you game this theory. If you pick Ilios as map number 1, if you win, you come up 1-0. Maybe you lose Midtown, you're now 1-1, correct?
Mhm.
And then you get to pick the escort map. Ideally, you go to escort. Scenario 2. You pick Ilios and you lose. Not unexpected. Gladiators, good map. You're picking one of their maps. You're probably expecting to lose here. They win. They're 1-0. You now get to pick Eichenwalde, where you can play your diva strategy. I'll get into that strategy as well, and why I think they do that. In theory, you now win Eichenwalde. You're 1-1. Gladiators get to pick their next map pick.
Right.
So I think the thing is, for them, the tinfoil hat theory is that there's no bad result from losing the first map of Ilios if you pick Ilios. Whereas if you play Oasis and you win, what is your next map choice? Your next map choice, the next map choice is a hybrid map choice.
Right.
Whereas if you pick Oasis and you win map 5, it goes to an escort, but ideally by that point you've actually already played circuit. It doesn't matter what escort remains. You don't have any remaining escort maps that you prefer anymore, other than Circuit Royale. So the idea is you lose Ilios on purpose, or either again, 2 scenarios, you either win it and it doesn't matter, or you lose it, which is expected, and then you get to pick something really strong, or you miss out on Eichenwalde completely, because Glads are never picking Eichenwalde versus you. So you're opening up a situation where you're guaranteed to pick Eichenwalde, because otherwise your next opportunity to pick Eichenwalde is map 7. And who the fuck knows what's going to happen by then?
Yeah.
So you're trying to guarantee that you get rid of Ilios early,
Hybrid
so that you
never
don't have to
comes
play that
back.
again. It did in this series. Hybrid was map 7 here. It was. Yes,
Should
it
it-
was.
First
I'm
of
telling
all,
you. Yes, I'm telling you, it was.
Right, but by the rule, like Eric posted the rules, should it have been even possible to pick? By the rules outlined?
They changed the shit mid grand finals. I don't know what to say, but like I literally got told by production. It was even in the graphic, by the way. If you look at the
it was
pre-show,
shifted.
map selection pre-show, it said map 7 push.
Yes.
And then halfway through the grand finals, I get a voice in my ear that says, "Sorry, it's now hybrid map 7." And then the new graphic comes up and it's fucking hybrid map 7.
Yep.
So I don't know
We were
what to
all
say.
like
I
very
don't-
confused about that as well.
I don't know why, but that's what it was.
Sure.
Okay,
Fair enough.
it just changed. It just changed to that. That's what it was. But in either case, you're either there's even with that under consideration. Here's the thinking from Shock: you are either not going to get the chance to play Eichenwalde again until map 7, or you're not going to get the chance at all, like 0.
Yeah.
So if you pick Ilios and lose on purpose, you get the Eichenwalde pick guaranteed.
Mhm.
And there's a world where you say, okay, but we were always going to lose on Ilios, so let's just get the shit out of the way early.
Sure.
Pick Oasis for 5, guarantee we get Eichenwalde, so that no matter what, the first 2 maps end in 1-1. Either you pick Oasis, your good map, and then they pick their map, Midtown, and you go 1-1, or you pick their good map, Ilios, then you pick your good hybrid and you go 1-1. So I think from the Shock POV, it doesn't matter. You just go 1-1 no matter what, but you knock out Glad's Ilios pick straight away.
Yeah. And you always
the
have your
tinfoil hat
counter
theory.
pick. I don't
That's the
hate that.
tinfoil hat
I think
theory.
that's pretty like I think that has a lot of room to be successful. Like you take that neutral pick for game 1. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. If you win, great, you have your counter pick. If not, then we get counter pick on Ike, and obviously we're favored.
And they
there.
don't suck at Ilios. They don't suck at, because it was a map that they legitimately do choose versus teams.
Yeah.
So it's not like some random thing that they just. You go back to the London game, Ilios, Shanghai Oasis. Okay, given that, but that's obviously the other good control map. Shock versus Glad's upper bracket final, Ilios. Grand finals, Ilios. So the three out of 4 opening maps of Shock played this tournament, 3 of them were Ilios. So it's not out of the question that they go to Ilios. They don't suck at this game map. They know Glads are probably favored. But the backup,
to be fair, this was a competitive map.
The safety net was, even if we lose, we get Eichenwalde.
Yep.
Fuck it.
I think that's smart. I think that's
That's
probably
why I don't hate that. That's why I hate the Gibraltar and not picking
Gibby
circuit,
is silly.
But I think this
Ilios
one is
makes sense.
This one makes a lot more sense.
Yes, agreed. Agreed there. God, I wish we had more data. Like I wish the the qualifying games, you're allowed to like pick I wish we had more map drafts. I love hearing people that are like passionate about map drafting and like go through the stats and like really like have that skeleton approach to it. Like apply this stuff.
I literally created
Sure.
very basic, just a notepad, the entire drafting strategy for both teams over the course of the BO7.
Yeah.
Here are the
But, like-
exact map order for all 7 maps that I expect the teams to be picking or favoring. So I had that lined up. That's why I have that's my framework of what I expected in terms of map drafting strategies. That's something I like to get into. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to that. And so I get into the mind of the coaches in terms of like, okay, where should the maps be going and why?
Mm-hmm. No, this was a good like example of, you know, like you said, the Ilias one is kind of indicative of like how this there is a lot of depth to this that I don't think people are appreciating.
So like when certain people are annoyed that I like critique to this depth on some things and like critique coaching decisions and like the audience is weird sometimes where they will like equally defend bad coaching decisions.
Yeah.
And then also like when there's a narrative behind it, like someone else started a narrative, they're like, oh, fuck Supreme and blah, 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 right? They're like, they will both equally dogpile coaches, but also defend the fuck out of bad coaching decisions all at the same time. It's kind of wild.
It's strange.
I almost can't contain myself that you're telling me that hybrid would have been played again.
It is a little weird.
It's literally in the graphic as well. Like,
yeah,
you can look at the so at 4 minutes and 20, you look at the graphic. It says push, and then like in the grand finals, and then you go to like I can't remember how deep in the series where it starts to say hybrid, and I can't remember when I got told it was hybrid, but I think like after 3-0, you look at the graphic, it still says push. I think after in Queen Street, maybe. And then it says hybrid, maybe.
It was definitely something that we noticed. Like, I feel like I remember seeing it like going into Dorado, then it changed. I know that
after Li Jung.
Yeah.
There it is. After Li Jung going to Dorado. Yep. So just before Dorado, it changes.
Which is like very odd. I don't know if that was just like a clerical error overall.
I'm going to assume that I'm going to assume that they always intended to go to hybrid 7 map 7, but this wasn't communicated properly apparently to I won't assume if it was communicated properly to the coaching staff or not, but it was definitely not communicated properly on the broadcast side because both broadcast production and also casters believed it was push. And then you get to Dorado and it's like, nope, hybrid now. I hope that the coaches knew it was hybrid the entire time because otherwise, like that changes a lot as far as like coaching decision making goes.
You have a ton of prep put into this that is now just bunk.
It's like because the tournament rule set itself states that hybrid can't be one of the alternated.
Correct.
I don't know.
So here's how it's permissible, right? Like how this is not complete fucking clown shoes and you should be ashamed of yourself. Is if you send an email to the team saying hybrid is map 7, but you didn't have that as your so basically like whatever you informed the teams with the internal information.
Correct.
If that is hybrid map 7, okay. If you just change it because after not only are the assets on stream, you also have the tournament rules prior to the tournament saying as much that hybrid can't be a game mode that will be alternated in order to find a winner. In fact, hybrid can never come up, even if you play until map 10, if you draw for some miraculous reason.
Sure.
Right? I'll tell you, like, if this is not a thing that where one of the coaches went, guys, I know you said this officially, but as the other team can confirm, we've been given this email. We all were under the assumption that it's going to be hybrid on map 7. I'm sorry, like we both practiced for this. In that case, okay, it's a cosmetic mistake. if not, and for any reason, this was just changed because this is absolute clown shoes.
Mm-hmm.
This is honestly, to me, worse than sitting at fucking one beer table combination in order to host a $1 million tournament. This is worse. You fucked up your format. What the fuck?
You could have. We don't know. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt and say we don't know if the teams were communicated. I have to assume.
I have to assume that they are not changing this shit
Yes.
mid match.
Yes.
You're not 6 maps and you're like, oh no, jokes. It's actually going to be hybrid. I have to assume it's not that. Because if it's that, then you're right. Then that's fucked up.
I think it's more the former of what you explained, that the teams were communicated the correct strategy, that this was the format that they were supposed to be playing.
It wasn't communicated to production.
Correct. There was a cosmetic error, and then it got fixed.
Or the website, presumably.
Sure. Could be as well, right? Like there was a breakdown, and that's unfortunate.
Sure.
But
it's just
we have to do a little bit of
hybrid.
It is
a
weird.
tiebreaker, right? Because that's the map you can draw.
Well, it's not a tiebreaker, but like you're going into those like extra round, those championship rounds.
Sure.
You don't want maps to tie, so it is a little strange. But again, it's not my job. You decide. People get paid a lot of money to figure that stuff out, so I'll let them continue to do that. I don't agree with it, but that's just my take. I think you just want escort.
Any thoughts on the game?
I think it was fantastic.
Yiska's just slamming down the rule book here. Fair enough.
No, I'm already messaging
beyond
people.
Beyond that.
I'm already messaging people. I'm pissed beyond.
He's on the case.
Yiska keeps talking about him getting DMs from people. Now, but the truth is, he is actually the DM.
He's the DMer.
DMs other people.
Yes.
That's also true.
He's
100% the DMer.
I mean, I literally didn't know about this, right? Like
Sure. We caught it on like as you were watching it. And I think Yiska probably fell asleep.
It was on the show though. I didn't reveal it on this podcast. It was literally in the show.
You
heard me at the start of the show. I was like, "Yep, and map 7, we're gonna go to Colosseo probably or New Queen Street."
Yeah.
And then like at some point during the show, I'm like, "So actually, we're gonna go to Midtown for map 7." It's like,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
No, but the game as a whole, I won't lie. I started, after Gibraltar, I was like, oh shit, here we go. This is Overwatch Grand Finals, everybody. Hurdy-dur. Here's another 4-0. Like, I feel terrible.
They shouldn't have lost. Like, Shock's entire plan makes a lot of sense. If they lose Ilios, get Ike, and then it's Glads that pick Gibraltar, but then it's a 2-1.
Yes. It would be a 2-1.
So the part that it breaks down is somehow Shock lose Ike and Valda, and then they pick Gibraltar. Like, what? I don't think they played Ike particularly well either. They were so sold on the plan that, like, yeah, we'll win Ike, they'll pick Jib, and then we'll pick whatever on map 4. That they're like, well, the plan says we're supposed to go to Jib on map 3. I guess we got to pick it now. Like, just so committed to the plan.
They stuck to the plan, yeah.
But here's the thing: that I had a bit of a conversation. I need to get some coach input on what the fuck was going on with the Diva. And there is a use case for Diva on Eichenwalde, which I think is okay. I think when you look at Eichenwalde, here's a couple choices you can make. And I'll speak to the defense first. You are not going to play Doom defense. Probably not. Unless you're like Hawk or Dante, and you're probably not going to be playing that. In fact, I think even Hawk would probably choose to play Sigma here. A lot of teams would either choose to play Sigma defense or maybe a Winston defense at most, and you play for counter dives. But the Diva strategy is kind of like a mobile Sigma. The way that I've looked at it and the way I've had it described to me as well is it's kind of like a mobile Sigma where you get a lot of the defensive utility of Sigma, obviously minus the big ass shield, which is a big part of it. But you're not just like glued to the floor. Like Sigma's just stuck in the mud. Whereas Diva can like move around the map. Oh, they are diving us on this side of the map. I'm going to now, peel for my team on that side of the map and just matrix people, right? There is that going for them. There's a little bit of high ground mobility play that you can make on A as well, not a lot. And you have a small window and a small opportunity to make counter dives, but that's probably not your primary focus. So to make it in simple terms, it's kind of like a mobile Sigma on the defense. I've also in looking to this and having it described to me on attack as well, there are use cases where, because here's a problem in 5v5, and problem in 5v5 right now is that it's not clear who's meant to be pushing payload. That's why you're seeing a lot of C9s. You're seeing a lot of C9s because there's one less player to contest objectives, and it's not as clear in what given situation who is the dedicated payload pusher.
I'll agree there. I think you've sold me on D.Va on that front alone, where it's like there are some use cases on maps, and then it is effective at like touching the card.
So here's what happens here is when you're attacking with D.Va and Ike Evolved B, you can effectively ping pong between payload and high ground a bit more efficiently than you would with the Winston.
Right.
Is one thing.
Right.
So D.Va becomes a dedicated payload pusher on B, and is able to also play for dives and do everything else as well. So they're kind of covering both roles at the same time. And there's some open angles on B as well that you could argue self-destruct has value. I've had it described to me in more than one case that self-destruct is a pretty fucking useless ultimate. But on B, there starts to become a little bit more use cases where it's far more open. Players have to run much further away to get away from the AoE and out of LOS, right? So there's definitely, especially when you get to the bridge, and you get to like the final area, Bomb actually becomes pretty reasonable as an ultimate. Other times, Primal Rage is 100% the better ultimate. So when you look at that, I don't think the D.Va's completely out of the question. You can still make the argument that Winston is probably the more standard pick there because the dive pressure with the bubble is so much stronger. You will never be able to convince me that a D.Va running at you is anywhere as effective as a Winston running at you, bubbling you, literally cutting you off from healing by bubbling you while still dealing damage at the same time. If a D.Va starts matrixing you, the D.Va no longer has damage output. Yeah. Because micro missiles can only take you so far, and that's not very far at all. No. And a matrix doesn't last that long. It lasts a reasonable amount, but it doesn't last forever, and it doesn't block, for example, Lucio healing. It doesn't block beat. It doesn't block a whole bunch of shit that a bubble does block. It blocks Ana healing. Cool. One hero can't heal. What about the others? What about the other shit? There's a lot that the matrix doesn't block that the bubble does block. So the Winston is better offensively and better at like actually committing dives, and Primal Rage is a way better ultimate. I would say that even in open spaces, like on the bridge, yeah, sure, the D.Va bomb covers a higher area, but the Primal Rage, you can literally boot people off the map and get kills. That's fucking insane as well. Like, so I will say the Primal Rage is still even just better across the board, even that open area. But I think in close areas too.
For Shock in particular, even though Kaluj has shown to have a subtly good Winston, I think you stack all of these things on top of each other. You look at Kaluj's history as a flex tank player, has a lot of history on D.Va. You can argue that you can play it on certain maps. I think I loved what Valiant were doing. I think at Kickoff Clash with it. There are some ways it can work, but just by and large, it's just not great.
So it's basically like a Kaluj pocket pick.
I would say so.
At the end of the day, it's a
Kaluj cool. I like it. I may not agree with it, but I think it's cool.
I will also say that Kaluj, in his mind, probably has a better D.Va than a Winston.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to be true when you have like ungodly amounts of hours scrimming, playing ranked, and just like playing in official matches as D.Va, and like none of that with Winston until Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the D.Va explanation for what it is. But I'm still with I'm still not out there saying like, oh, D.Va's the truth.
Let's go play D.Va, guys. Yeah,
play D.Va. No, that's a very specific pocket pick just for Kaluj.
Yes. I think it'd be interesting to see a couple of other teams and maybe what that looks like for them, but I trust the Shock coaching staff. I trust Kaluj as a player to be able to pull that off and execute that at a pretty high level. But yeah, in terms of the game itself, I started kind of worried some. New Queen Street was an eye opener. It seemed like Shock, were coming back. We had a game on our hands. Li Zhang looked fantastic.
Sombra, dude.
Yeah, agreed. Like, I'm kind of just over it.
It's like are you gonna get baited by the Irish lady or the Mexican lady? Like, which one is it?
Somebody's doing something.
Which one's screwing your team over? Like,
and it's funny too because like Shock aren't like removed of having like odd picks. Like, don't forget the S9mm Torb on Night Market because that was a thing. They still won, but like, don't tell me that that's like a huge Brett. No. Listen, You don't need to get too crazy with it in the grand finals.
He played it because I think Sam in his mind, he's like, wait a minute, my matchup is Tracer and Sombra. What is a hero that annoys the fuck out of Tracer and Sombra? Let's just go forward. It's the most like gold plat counter.
Yeah.
But like if you come out and surprise your opponent, it might just work. And it like sort of did.
I'm
So
here. I'm here. The entertainment, like watcher. My popcorn movie brain is like, yeah. Let me see. I want to see some sim. I want to see some Tor. But like, like analysis wise, I'm like,
it's like when you play like a gold game and like there's a Winston on the other team and your DPS is like, I'm gonna play Reaper.
Yeah,
it's like that. It's like that level of like counter, like a gold rank, but in the Overwatch League, and it works. Is what it is. It's just like it actually, but except it actually worked. Oh god.
And then we've got Dorado, which to your credit and the Gladiators' credit makes perfect sense. I think in our Discord live watch party, which tune into Summer Showdown, we will have more of these. Please come in and join us. In Discord, yep. I was kind of concerned. I was like, oh, Glads easily take them to circuit. And the way that you kind of explained the flow chart of this game, I'm like, oh, you know what? I agree. You probably don't want to take them to circuit. Like it plays directly into their hand, and Dorado makes a little bit more sense.
Dorado's a Winston map. It makes them,
yes.
You want to go to Winston map. It's a big Winston map.
Yeah. Which makes perfect sense as to why Glads takes them there. So that was just like my own mistake.
They wanted. Here's the hierarchy of Glads map priority. For escort, it goes in this exact order: Gibraltar, Dorado, Route 66, and then the very fucking bottom, Circuit Royale.
Yeah.
And you know what the two escort maps got played were? The number 1 and number 2 priority picks for the Glads on this game mode. That's how fucked it was.
Yep. Shock gave them Jibby, to be fair, and then they got Dorado.
They got both the escorts they wanted.
And to be fair, when you start Dorado, it's like Shock don't look bad.
They got both the controls they wanted as well.
Yes.
Because here's let me outline that drafting strategy for Gladiators again. Here's their priority pick order for control. It goes Ilios, then Li Zhang, then Oasis last. Guess which 2 controls we went to?
You guessed it.
2 game modes, they got their preferred 1 and 2. Hybrid, they wanted Midtown. Shock wanted Eichenwalde.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what it is.
Not gonna get it.
Push, Glads want Colosseo. Shock probably don't mind Colosseo, but they don't want to deal with that smoke again. So they went to Queen Street, which I think is correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Shock got 2 maps they wanted. Lo and behold, those are the 2 maps they want as well. Am I wrong?
Yeah. New Queen Street and Li Zhang. Yeah.
No, Li Zhang was not one of the maps they wanted. They wanted Oasis. But they won on one of the maps they wanted.
Yeah.
And then they won a map that Glads wanted, but they wanted. So Glads wanted to play the map, but Shock won the map. I understand that was a little bit of word vomit there that didn't sound correct. But yes.
Yeah. I think with Dorado in general, I feel like I say this every time, like we get like a round 2 push into like right towards the end of B. I feel like there's a few like different like big Apex finals and maybe some contenders finals that like end right in that big courtyard right before you walk into point C, where like you're contesting the high ground. You've got to push it in. You've got to get to the golden checkbox. And like that's just where it's a great point. And it's just like that's where pushes go to die. And boy, did it go to die there. Boy,
I've heard it broken down as Mikey went too early, took too much damage and had to back out.
Yep.
Proper didn't know and he didn't go for the touch and then they just lost.
Yep.
So this is maybe a miscommunication error. It could be a mixed team thing. Like Mikey in that stage says, I think the goal is, okay, in an ideal world, your ball player touches, obviously. Has the highest HP pool, highest damage mitigation, has fucking minefield as well, by the way, which you absolutely want to be playing on the payload at that time. And then you allow Proper to hunt down Arns because Arns has been a fucking problem.
Yes.
And Kilo needs help. Right? That's the correct line of play to make. However, if Mikey can't touch, then Proper needs to touch. But in order for that to happen, Mikey has to say, I can't touch, Proper go. And then Proper's like, fuck, I'll go. But if that doesn't happen, I'm not in their comms. I'm making some shit up. I'm trying to be the detective here, playing back the events of how I think it went down.
I think
so
that's
in my
exactly
mind-
how it happened. Yeah.
My mind, Mikey goes too early. He
Yep.
either failed to communicate that he can't touch anymore, or Proper didn't hear it, or whatever the fuck happened. There was some sort of communication error that happened. Either Mikey didn't say it, or Proper didn't understand. One of those two. And then Proper doesn't touch, Mikey doesn't touch, and no one else can
Nobody-
fucking touch,
yeah.
and that's it. It's done.
I 100% agree with everything you just said there. The issue that ends up happening, because we kind of like as it happened, we're all losing our fucking minds. So we go back and we kind of break it down. We all agree, Discord community wise, that like if anybody's to blame, it's probably Mikey. Homie goes way too early.
Yeah.
He gets chunked and has to immediately flex back to his supports.
Yeah.
In that whole like 2-second process, Proper ends up like moving towards coast, triple blinks, and like there's just a moment that like there's nothing really you can do at that point. And if anybody's gonna shoulder some blame here, because I think people are like, understandably, if you aren't gonna go back and like comb through it, it's pretty like understandable why you'd point your finger at Proper. But the issue is knowing what we know, he physically can't be there. The only way that we fix this is if we go back to Mikey's too early engage, and that's where like this push changes dramatically.
Well, the
If he doesn't
communication has to be happening in that moment where, like, before Proper triple blinks,
Yes.
Proper has to hear and understand that it is now his job to touch.
Right.
It's clear that he does. It's clear that he doesn't know that he was meant to touch in that moment.
Right.
Which you can either chalk down to he didn't understand what the situation was, he didn't understand what Mikey was saying, or it just wasn't said. It's one of those two.
Sure. Yeah. And like I don't. This is one of those C9s that like, yes, it is tragic. Oh my, like we flip out, we go crazy, but when you stack everything together, you look at like such a high pressure situation. It's a very, very tight window of like certain things need to be said and understood in a very small amount of time. And like, yeah, you can wag your finger at Mikey and say, yeah, you probably went too early. And I think we'd all agree with that. But like, this is not one to be like, oh, egg on your face, like lol, shock suck. Like, no. Like, this is a high pressure.
I thought we were going to 7.
I agree. I don't know how Shock or how Glads got through that B push. They're down ults
because
they find kills somehow, and it's
they pulse Reiner, and it's a 5v4. At that point, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
There's no way Glads win this now.
Yep.
But then
who touches the card?
Like, Skewed gets a pick, and then Arns gets 3, and it's just like suddenly wide open again. I'm like, what? Skewed and Arns just get all the kills, apparently.
Yep. That should have been game
wide
7.
open again.
That right there, you kill Reiner, and then any other team in the league, maybe barring the Spark, just lose. You
maybe
just
even
go
the
there
Spark.
to lose.
Maybe even the Spark.
Maybe. But you see like the comparison, like you need some crazy shy bullshit. You got to shift this into like some magical imaginary 7th gear and just find some value. And
Goku comes out of
way.
heaven and just wins.
Pretty much.
You need a miracle.
You need to have the Dragon Balls. Krillin needs to literally like sacrifice a goat, and you can continue on. Like what do you do? What do you do there? Like as Shock, like I can't help but be boomed for them.
Yeah, it was rough. What was your reaction like? Were you guys like, no way?
Oh yeah, we were all shitting our pants. I was doing paces in my room. I was doing laps. I'm like, there's no fucking way that just happened.
I mean,
you could hear my commentary at the time. I'm like, touch. I'm like, who's touching? Somebody's gonna touch.
I mean, that fight was over, wasn't it? That was
after Mikey gets chunked.
No, before that, right? Like, I don't think that Shock has like. Glads are in a favorable old position. They have to trickle in. I don't think there's a sensible moment where
I figured out.
Favored to
I now know why Yiska didn't realize we were going to hybrid, because he, in that exact moment, he's like, oh, Glads won. He walked away and turned it off and went to bed. And that's why he didn't know we were going to hybrid.
Yeah. By the way, I double checked. Apparently, it was always going to happen. So,
okay.
The coaches knew is what it was.
Yes. Which is good.
That's
I
the
didn't talk to
important
the
part.
coaches, but the orcs, yeah.
Oh, that's good. glad that that's the case and there wasn't any kind of fuckery going on. And
Well, it has to be, because otherwise somebody's coming out, either Face or Krusty or somebody's
yeah,
going to be like,
somebody's
"What the
gonna
fuck?
be, yeah.
What the fuck is this?" Somebody would have said
Yeah,
something by
yeah.
now if it wasn't the case.
Maybe
is what I'm saying.
someone did say something, you know? Like maybe they had to hand in their sheets and it's like, guys, I want to make my check mark at the hybrid map, but this is not hybrid map. And it's like,
Whoopsies. And that very well could have been the case, right? And they had to go back and like change the
I
clerical
still
stuff.
have to say, even if we go to map 7, it is Glad's pick, and they will go
Yes.
to they will go to either. If it's pushed, they go to Colossia, where I think they're favored to win, or
Sure.
obviously we know it's hybrid now. They choose Midtown. I promise you, they choose Midtown, and they're favored to win as well.
Yeah.
So that's the issue.
Yes.
It's very important to be the first team to hit match point in a series like this, because you want to guarantee that if it goes the distance, you get the map choice, not the opponent.
Yeah.
Although I will say, pushing this is kind of pointless. This is the reason why I'm actually glad it's not push map 7. Not just because I don't like push, because there's no choice.
There's no
involved.
agency.
There's not an actual strategy there. You've already played New Queen Street, so if you go to 7, it's nobody's map pick. You just default to the only remaining map. There's no fucking strategy, which is why push for map 7 makes no fucking sense.
I'm gonna sign the charter to remove push, not because I have any kind of bias towards it. I think I'm coming around to push as a game mode ever so slightly. We'll see how it ends up.
Anti-strategy if a second push appears in the series, because there is no agency in the choice.
Correct.
It's anti-strategy.
In a best of 7, we should not have double push. We should just have single push because there's only 2 maps.
You literally get punished if it's your map choice and it's a push map again, because you don't have a choice. You literally just get punished.
You just get stuck with them. And
I'm glad it wasn't pushed.
Agreed. I hope that gets changed.
Any final thoughts about this matchup?
I thought it was a banger. I thought it was a great final. It may have ended a little anticlimactically, but it was a sit on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen. We thought it was going to be a 4-0, and it was looking real reverse sweepable by the end of it, right? Like, Shock had every right in this.
Unbackable, apparently.
You did not know how this one was going to end. Like, it was one of the most entertaining experiences we've had all season, and I hope we see more of it. I hope this was I came into this meta a little hesitant just because it was a little like all over the place. Yeah. But
my only regret,
incredibly.
My only regret, a C9 ending is a little unfortunate. My only regret is that because it ended in C9, there was never the right setup to be like, hyping up the team winning. You never got that, the build up towards it. They're about to win the grand ship. They're about to win the championship. You never got that because it just fucking ended.
It just stopped.
Yeah.
It's gotta feel so. It's gonna be so jarring to be like, all right, narrative. I guess it's over. All right, yeah. Congratulations, Gladiators.
The only really sad part about it. All right. We got to get moving because we're about to approach some time issues here. So
yes.
I think it's better that we wrap up now. We're not going to get to the conversation about the viewership thing. Look, fun tournament. I think the setup ended up being okay. They did the best they could in terms of trying to split the teams up so they weren't just kissing each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised when when interest in watching Overwatch is at an all-time low. I don't know what else there is to expect. It just is what it is, right? So
yeah,
fuck it.
I kind of
go next.
Am I a sadistic asshole when I say like I would have wanted to see that?
What, to see somebody kiss?
No, to see the teams in front of each other. I mean, I know as a fellow zealot of the Church of Competitive Integrity, like this is an absolute no-go, and I would always say this is pretty horseshit, but like some part of me wants to see like Hardy just like play Atlanta Reign.
I want to see Lastro reach over the computer and flip people off.
I'm not saying this is the correct way to go, but I do know that even pre-CDL, so pre-Call of Duty League, and when we were still doing CWL, the Call of Duty World League, I think the last year that was 2019. So as early as 2019, during certain off-broadcast matches, because the tournament was big enough, there were enough games that some of them had to be like played offline. The offline games were played in a scenario, you can confirm this by watching team content when they go to these events, literally face to face, like that exact original Hawaii setup where they're face to face and like right fucking kissing each other. That was a legitimate setup for CWL as early as late as 2019. Like, again, not saying that's justified or correct, but I'm just saying, like, you know, even
this is
for
normal for like console esports.
Even for a world championship in Call of Duty, that was pretty standard.
Yeah.
And because they're Call of Duty players, they absolutely fucking popped off and yelled and swore at each other and fucking, you know, I don't know, or whatever obscenities you think they did, they probably did do.
They probably
at each other in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. When you are raised in those environments where like the enemy is like readily accessible to you, yeah, you're good. It's gonna cultivate that kind of experience. And I think in a weird way, I agree with Yiska's point, or like early on to the whole table debacle, that like this could have been really entertaining. Like you had Hottie stand up when I believe there was some kind of C9. Oh, it was the Shock C9. Yeah. Where like he's just like, what was that, guys? Like it was really like you're supposed to be the best team. Like and you got Lastro flipping people on like birds under the table. Reiner and Patty are running on tables and shit. Like it could have been entertaining. Yeah, is it scuffed as fuck? Are we playing in a science lab? 100%. But like that's just kind of who we are at this point. Like let's not deny our heritage. We are just kind of a goofy little bunch.
All right. Well, I'm happy to wrap up there and call it an episode. Yep. NA better this tournament. NA better right now. Top of NA. The three teams in NA better than the APAC teams.
Yeah.
You do have to admit though that that in the middle area of APAC they were still better than the rest of the NA teams. I think the top of NA was just stronger, admittedly. And also fuck you, I don't actually care who wins. It doesn't really matter. Like I just want to see good Overwatch. It doesn't I don't know why people are trying to place, like, people are trying to tell me what I care about beyond what I actually do. That's a really strange experience for me. You know, it's just like, what? I'm just trying to cast some video games. Thanks though. I mean, thanks. Thank you. Where the fuck? 251. Goodbye.
Peace.